It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. We intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
Good morning. Anything new with you? Good morning. No, not my desk, D. I wish. The desk is coming. This is the counter. This is the counter. I'm at my counter. That sits beautifully in my beautiful studio apartment. I had to, y'all should feel special. Let me turn down the 50 cent. I forgot that I had on. $5.50. What up? What's up, Australia Fuckers? Good to see you. Justin. All right. Good morning, Australia Fuckers. Good to see you. Hey, Christy. How you doing? Good morning. I missed a few late. Yeah, it's all good. It's the holidays. It's okay. D Bartlett, how you doing? How you doing? Megsy, what up? D, if I said D. All right. Good morning. All right. I want to do an exercise. Drop a thumbs up in the chat if you saw the newsletter this morning. If you saw the newsletter this morning, drop a thumbs up in the chat. I just want to know if you can. If you're driving, if you're at work trying to act like you're working on those spreadsheets, that's fine too. Cool. So I kind of went back and forth, back and forth on like what this conversation is, and y'all gonna have to just track with me. I missed y'all yesterday, so I got like a lot of stored up energy. So y'all know this. Like, Megsy already did the track list in terms of what some of my more popular refrains. But y'all know I'm from Jersey. No, y'all know that you should know if you don't know, when I relocated back to the Charleston metro area back in 2014, 2015, I always say that because I was very, very unfaithful. I literally was commuting back and forth to Philly or Jersey, and to the point where my dad was like, yo, you gotta chill. Like, you just keep driving. I just kept driving back up. I just was non-committal about my move here, even though my apartment was gone. Anyway, I came down here and I entered, I wanted to enter the tech space. I told y'all this. I went back to College of Charleston to get to one of those certificate programs, right? So I went through those several weeks long programs to study more about digital marketing and social media. I tried to go to all the mixers. All these tech things were popping up left and right from some of these like big names that you would know in tech or typically associate. When I moved here, I was under the impression that this Silicon Harbor was a thing. I was like, oh shit, Charleston's really getting innovative. And I'm like, oh wow, this tech. And then I'm going to these mixers and you got all these really smart coders or wannabe coders. You got them all like, discussing, oh yeah, Google Fiber is coming. Oh yeah, Google has like what is that data, is it data process? Whatever it is, like that data thing that's out in Monk's Corner, I believe. Like there were all these things telling me that, hey, tech is a big thing here. I went to a lot of competitions. I befriended a lot of folks, kind of just whittled away a little bit the more I got out of that space and got into the whole community space, organizing and activism. And I'm bringing all this up today to discuss. I'm going to switch it real quick. Let's switch back. I'm bringing all that. What up, Hillary? Hey. I'm bringing all of that up to discuss, like, to try to let you understand, like, this conversation has been brewing for a minute. And even like full disclosure, Brandon and I, we've had conversations about this as well. But y'all know Brandon's been on the live stream, right? Friend of the live stream. And a colleague of mine, technically a colleague of mine. Brandon has his lived experiences within business and commerce here in Charleston. I've had mine, and there were so many, like there were not so many, but there were a couple of like experiences that we shared, if that makes sense, in terms of like being in these tech spaces or these innovation spaces, these the startup bro culture spaces, and really just not understand, like things just really weren't making sense. Like things weren't clicking. It wasn't an inclusive space. There really wasn't any push to make these spaces more culturally sensitive or culturally specific. And so I saw a lot, right? And I was creating, at some point I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna create this content that I wanna do. I went on, I created all these videos with Pink Verbena. The website was pinkverbena.com. At first I was trying to do like I was trying to offer home services. What up, Joy? Like cleaning service. I was going to try to like be some sort of like placement service for talent. And then I'm like, fuck it. I just want to make the content. And like, it was in the age of BuzzFeed and all those DIY home hacks. I was watching a lot of Chip and Joanna Gaines, HGTV. So I was like, oh, people, let me create this hub for Charleston so you can make your home your favorite place to be on earth. Like that was my whole thing. Like create inspiration, create content that leads you to make home your most favorite place to be, right? Anyway, fast forward, jumped out of that, Trump happened, all that, right? But so I just want to say that this is not just because there's some things on here. I'm not going to throw a stone and hide my hand, right? There's some things on this thumbnail. What up, Rugby? What up, Brian? Good to see you. Yeah. So there's some things on this thumbnail. Of course, the latest 30 under 30 list. We have a Charlestonian there on that list. I used you see the word Silicon Harbor. You see the technical definition. It was included in the newsletter for greenwashing. And then I have a clip. We're going to revisit the op-ed from Joshua Robinson about the techniques or the solutions that are supposed to address, the ramifications of the current climate crisis and how that's changing Charleston and how that's forcing Charleston to kind of, confront it and be proactive with some solutions. So we're going to revisit that because all of my experience within tech culture, my lived experience, my work experience, my more recent experience in the world of environmental justice, advocating for environmental justice, specifically around the Friends of Gadsden Creek and our work there. It has kind of really queued up, has really prepared me to talk about this or to at least start the conversation here on the live stream. Hey, what up, little mama? So I want to also say this. I'm not going at nobody's neck per se, but we will be poking holes. And I also want to say that this conversation, when I say this conversation has been going on for a lot from different areas. So like I said, me and Brandon and I, we would talk about tech culture in Silicon Harbor, right? Justin and I kind of would talk about it just a skosh a little bit, because we listen to Dan Le Batard in Miami and Charleston, just too many parallels, right? Right. And so we talk about like the Dan Le Batard show talked about how like, they got a mayor that's really into Bitcoin and all this like type of like, digital currency, whatever it's called, whatever kind of currency that is. And like, calling your city a tech hub it's a real estate hack. It's a gimmick, right? So if you really want to bring in all this investment, put a silicon in front of whatever your city is named after, right? Or known for. So we became Silicon Harbor. Shout out to Emma Whalen. I hope it's Whalen. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. With the Post and Courier. It got engagement, and I'll show the tweet. She even talked about how like she came from Texas and she came from an area that was coined Silicon Bayou. But anyway, that's just a real estate gimmick, right? So there are parts of like where the environmentalist world and that bro culture world of branding and marketing and greenwashing, right? Or performative sustainability is something I'm playing with. I don't know if that's a technical term or somebody else said that, but performative sustainability, right? And performative like environmental consciousness. I really want to talk about it. So I'm not coming at old boy neck like making him a villain, because we will be talking specifically about one specific entrepreneur. We talk specifically about one specific. Redundancy is my best friend. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about, just like, hey, and also like, so I'm not the smartest person in my friend group. Let me switch up the camera real quick. And I'm going to get to the chat in a second. Hey, Justin, thank you for that. Co-producer in the house. Yeah. You and Brandon deserve a co-producer credit today. But yeah, so, for those who are joining me, desk is on the way. Ordered it. Desk is coming. I'm at my kitchen table, whatever. Desk is coming. Just so y'all like, where's she at? I'm sitting at the counter. Y'all, this is a mess. It's not a mess. It's a beautiful mess. But, anyway, so like I'm not the smartest person in my friend group, and I like that. I surround myself with, not just because I want to extract information from people, but I like being challenged. And I like learning new things. Like I am sincerely like curious. And so, again, there have been nights in my local restaurant, my favorite local restaurant. There have been nights on the phone. There have been Friends of Gadsden Creek meetings where we've started conversations about Charleston's solutions, the solutions they typically embrace, the solutions they usually encourage or popularize, and all of it feels surfacey, it feels superficial sometimes. Not all of it, but some of it feels really, to take someone's phrase, I'm not going to say the person's name, but feels very junior varsity. And we're facing real issues with the climate crisis, right? So that would make you think that this is, for those who are like more prospectors in terms of entrepreneurship, you would think that some folks would really come with some solid solutions, but we're seeing kind of the opposite. We're seeing like faux solutions. And so we just need to poke holes in it, because I'm going to say this. I know that like look, as much as I give the Post and Courier the business, I want to acknowledge this. I know they're not, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I know they're not the Baltimore Sun, or they're not they're a solid paper with, a long and storied history, but they're not the biggest of the biggest. So I don't expect them to have like a bevy of resources, like investigative journalists in the environmental space or investigative journalists in the business space, right? I don't always expect that, but I do expect the Post and Courier to at least question some of the things they fucking print. Like, just that's just the one expectation. And I know they can do it, because again, as much as I go at the Post and Courier about their curious editorial decisions, and I'm being very polite there, it's like, can y'all just ask a follow-up question? Like, can y'all just ask like a probing question, especially around science and around tech and around some solutions that are engineered to confront or to address the fallout from the climate crisis? Can we do that? So if someone says, hey, this thing is going to solve this problem, or this thing is going to help this issue, can we at least like dig deeper and really ask some pointed questions? And again, this does not just come from, oh, this dude made Forbes, let me look at this. And let's go back to the conversation I had with my scientist friends, who are like, I don't want to characterize their skill set, but let's just say that they are in the biology and environmental science space, right? Hydrology space, and that, if that helps. So had this conversation about this technology that's being shared and celebrated, no one is reporting on, okay, wait a minute, it's supposed to do this, but in like on a basic fucking level, like not know like, hey, I went to MIT, or I interned at Theranos. And oddly enough, the Theranos news really helped contribute to the conversation I want to have today. And I know I'm saying a lot of preamble in the first 14, 15 minutes, but you get what I'm saying. Like there's been just like just so many conversations I've had with friends and via email, via text message, in person, about the solutions that come out of Charleston, and what solutions are championed and what are like demonized. And I've learned that I've learned that lesson time and time again with being a part of the Friends of Gadsden Creek. Look, Conservation League don't fuck with us. There's some history with Waterkeeper there, right? That exists. And so there's some tension there. Name the group. They don't really fuck with us. We're really grassroots. We center Black people, and we center, we center the needs and the desires and the wants and of Black people, specifically those living in Back to Green and that entire community. And we really hold that history, close to our heart, right? You don't have so I'm saying all that to say, as we've advocated, and I work with some of the Friends of Gadsden Creek is comprised of some of the most realist, some of the most dopest, brilliant architects and future hydrologists and future, I don't know if I say that wrong, but future science, people who are really going to make their communities 1,000% better. And to have some of the other groups and institutions keep demonizing us and say, oh, they're just this or they're just that. At first it was heartbreaking. I'm like, wait a minute, y'all love environmentalist shit here in Charleston. Y'all get all kinds of like excited about environmentalists. And I got you in the chat. I'm just trying to just get through my little ramble rant. I'm like, but Charleston, y'all love green shit. Y'all love that. That's the easy one. That's day one. Right? They love environmental because it's easy, right? right? It feels easy, but therein lies the problem. Therein lies where the tension stems from, is that we're actually challenging systems. We're interrogating the way power flows. We're interrogating the way money flows and where it flows from and who it flows into, right? And so when you start, when you challenge power, that, right? Like what The Wire teaches, reformers die. And I'm not saying we're going to die, but reformers die. Martin Luther King, Jesus Christ. I'm not comparing myself or Friends of Gaston Creek to that, but you get what I'm saying. Whenever there's a threat of reformation, there's always going to be blowback, right? So I'm like, well, why they love like the C-Beam dude like that, and they don't really fuck with us like that, right? And some of that is very painfully obvious why they would embrace C-Beam bro, and why they would kind of like, y'all science ain't real science. I know you got teachers and academics and professors and engineers on your squad, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel it's just really weird what this city chooses to embrace, especially given the grave consequences if we don't address climate change with thoughtful, intentional solutions. So we're gonna try to have that conversation, especially amid the Theranos news, the Elizabeth Holmes guilty verdicts, the 4 counts, found guilty on 4 counts, that biotech space. I'm gonna play a little bit of my favorite podcast, which is Marketplace Tech. Very easy to listen to, 8 minutes. It's like podcast goals. Like if I really wish I could do something that's succinct. For real. Like I wish I could produce something that's succinct every day. But we're gonna listen to a little bit of today's episode because it coincides with what we're going to talk about in terms of real solutions, thoughtful solutions, and like what do we learn from this Elizabeth Holmes things. Now I want to make this clear. I am not comparing any local entrepreneur to any fraudulent ass CEO. I'm not doing that. But I'm having a conversation about why we not challenging science, that we listening to the Dropout podcast, we listening to Bad Blood podcast, we watching the HBO documentary on Elizabeth Holmes. Like we see all this stuff. We see Uber getting caught up. We see Elon Musk making, like, why we not questioning science here? Like, why are we not? And so we want to kind of talk about that. All right, now let me go to the chat and be a good host to all my wonderful watchers this morning. What up? Good morning. Thank you for starting your day with me. All right, let me read some of the chat. D, you've been D and Brian, y'all been lighting it up. Let me see. You saw the commercial TV last night. Visit Qatar. Wait, you saw it? Oh, up there in Connecticut. Yeah, Qatar. They spending mad money here. Mad money in the United States. Mad money. Can't wait to that. What? J.A. Moore went to Taiwan. Did he go with what are you talking about? Did he go with Nancy Mace? Oh my gosh, let me see. Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know what that is. Okay. Sorry. People text me when they know I'm live streaming. All right. Not in a bad way. If that was you, if anybody watching me, I'm sorry. I get distracted very easily, as y'all know. It doesn't seem like a high bar, Brian, you said, to ask them to do. Just ask questions in terms of the Post and Courier. Absolutely. Right? D, you went on to say, yes, why don't they do a series on why Charleston had a green plan in the drawer for years to address sea level rise? Come on, D. Right? And they ignored it. They ignored it until like they couldn't ignore it anymore. And like we're seeing, like, it's not sustainable. Like these decisions and this way of thinking, this reactive way of thinking, and honestly, they know the people with resources and access to money and access to whatever, and access to people, privilege, they're going to be the ones that are going to be okay, right? That's why we got like millionaires, millionaires south abroad able to elevate their homes in an effort to mitigate any harm from sea level rise. Joy, you dropped in the chat the Post and Courier reports and narratives. Joy, that's one of the most like seriously, that's more bars. Motherfucking bars. That's bars, because that's exactly it. The reports and narrative, right? They're really any follow through, like, and that's the thing, and they got good, like Avery Wilkes is the name that always comes to top. Steve Garrison too, but like Avery Wilkes been in that investigative space for a minute, and they lost a lot of talent over the last year. So they lost a lot of people who were equipped to be in that medical space or in that science space. They've lost so much talent. So through attrition, there's some challenges there as well. But yeah, let me read what you said in the chat, Joe, more completely. The PNC report to narratives. There's rarely follow through and hard hitting questions unless they are told to, right? Allegedly, right? And again, a lot of my criticism of the Post and Courier goes to its genesis, its origin story, of course, but also the editorial staff and their very, very clearly political and curious decisions that they make around what they choose to publish and what they choose to omit, erase. And a lot of things I see currently in contemporary times is some things that I've read about back in the damn day. Let me go back. All right, so let's get into it. So that was 22 minutes of me bloviating. Let's go. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about this, too. If you follow me on Twitter, you're probably like, Meek, I don't know what the hell this was that you... I don't know what the hell this was that you posted. So shout out to my girl, my friend, my homie, A Boogie with the Hoodie, also known as Amron, previous caller, enter on the mic'd up hotline. She gifted me this magazine right here. This is a biology magazine, and it's just, I've never seen anything like this. And we're going to get into it. This is a biology magazine, and it's the equity issue. And this, again, like I said, this is not just me waking up like, oh, I made a tweet about Silicon Harbor. Oh, let me just talk and poke holes in. Nah, this is a deeper conversation. And while I can't read articles or a bunch of articles from this magazine, I'm going to read excerpts from certain parts of this magazine, or what this issue was attempting to do in the science space, and ask why don't more businesses here in Charleston move with this type of thoughtfulness and intention, right? Why not acknowledge equity, right, in the science space, and try to address it and incorporate values that are designed to dismantle white supremacy, or at least challenge it structurally, weaken it structurally? Why can't those values that are expressed in this biology from this organization and from this publication, why can't we see more of that here? It's just really just a rhetorical question, like, why can't we see it? And there's you know the answer. So we're going to talk about this a little bit, because it really has some powerful pieces in there that I think, local startup bros could learn from. But just because we're going to talk about a little bit of environmentalism and stuff like that, we got to talk about. Let me see if it, because I know it's been a couple days since I left you. Let me see if they have it here. That cruise ship. Oh, what happened? Cruise victims. What happened on a cruise ship? All right, I wanted to get that clip of that scaffolding, y'all. That shit was scary, right? So I'm gonna play this real quick, just because I just want to play it with y'all, and this is my first time watching this with y'all. It's just a 34-second, like, this was, yeah, y'all. Day before yesterday, gusty like a mug. I was like, what is going on, sir? And so, shout out to Brandon, who risked his fucking life. He must have saw it swaying heavy to stop and say, no, I'm gonna film this. But guess what Mika would have been doing?
It's going.
Ooh, that Jeep. Ooh. If anybody would have been walking, y'all. Yeah. Oh, at least he's inside. He's behind glass. Still not safe. Yeah, nah, it just was really wild. Yeah. Justin, you said great question. Oh goodness, what was that? Okay, Justin, you said great question. They're still ignoring real solutions. The difference between mitigation and alleviation. Oh my God, yeah, that's a good distinction to make. That is very powerful. Yep, yeah, that wind was crazy down here. It was. All right, so let's get into where I want to start. I wanted to start with some dynamic content, meaning like stuff that you can see. But I also, let me see. Oh wait, I gotta see this real quick.
Holiday travel, tourism across.
Y'all saw? Did anybody see my tweets about this?
The Low Country is recovering after a year of shutdowns due to COVID-19.
News 2's Riley Benson joins us live from.
Was there really a shutdown in Charleston? I don't remember maybe for a month, 2 months. Maybe let me be generous. Maybe maybe 4 months of shutdown.
Downtown Charleston and Riley, the success of 2021 could actually mean some good things moving forward.
The price, the success. And then y'all know how I feel about this. Good shot though, Riley. Did your thing. Good shot.
Yeah, Carol and Brendan, officials and some business owners say they broke records in 2021. They say that's partially because tourists
Right,
returned
Nicole?
to our area in a big way.
Tourism back in full force across the Lowcountry.
Recovery was fantastic. We had a wonderfully, actually our best year ever.
We recovered at a much quicker pace than did the rest of the.
That's CVB, bro. That's Gun Show Doug. That's his nickname I just came up with. So that's the dude with the polo shirt at the city council advocating for the bid, working with area businesses, business owners, property owners along King Street and other areas, of course. He's a proponent of the whole bid proposal, right? It looks, is that virtual? That virtual background? Oop, sorry.
Country.
2021 presented new challenges for business owners, including Carmela's owner Brian Solari. He says he fought through labor and supply chain issues, but his business had its best year yet.
You know, we went in lean with product and we went in lean with labor, thinking that, you know, we wanted to kind of step in slowly and make sure that we didn't overextend ourselves, and we got pummeled.
Some businesses weren't as lucky as others, suffering hard hits in the early months. But Doug Warner with Explore Charleston says after reopenings, family vacations to the
Gun Show Doug is sticking. Gun Show Doug.
Lowcountry pushed the tourism industry through the roof.
Not a bad nickname.
From May through the rest of the year, we were either exceeding 2019 numbers or right at them.
Hey,
Hotel
Denise.
occupancy rates, the bar that sets the tone for tourism, down just over 3% for 2021 compared to 2019, but spending was up more than 6%, paying dividends for the industry. Warner says some unpredictability remains, but believes it could bode well for the Holy City in the new year.
The uncertainty of international travel, the increase in airlift capability.
Remember when I said, what was that on Monday? What gets measured gets managed. They measuring the fuck out all these numbers. It's crazy how, you know, and it's like there's no self-awareness. Oh, our business is booming. Business is booming. Meanwhile, you know, we done made national headlines for COVID. Like, I can't even count how many times we made a national publication or made a national news story about how much virus is just like swirling around this bitch. You know, and it's crazy to see how like the death toll, because I think the Post and Courier did at least print about that, if not yesterday, today. You know, this grim milestone that like all these states are hitting, but South Carolina, a lot of the deaths and infections could have been prevented. And it's just amazing how like commerce and travel and tourism, hospitality, all those numbers are up, but schools and health and overwhelmed healthcare systems, how all of that is like struggling. And though they're not the same and the outcomes are very different, it's just crazy what, you know, all of this came at a price. So they're talking about consumer habits and whatnot. All of this came at a price, and the price was a little too high for me. A little too steep for my blood. Joy in the chat, you said, why are they talking past tense? Right. Exactly. Still supply chain issues. That's why y'all couldn't get them green hoodies in the sizes we needed. Let me stop. No, but seriously, yeah. Right? No, but it's real. Yeah, it's not over with. Like, yeah, we at 15. Shout out to y'all been holding me down too. A lot of y'all been helping me get through this crisis. Whether it's with COVID, like my supporters, now friends, have been really helpful to help me get through COVID. You know what I mean? Shout out to y'all. I appreciate you. I ain't putting nobody on the spot though. I appreciate you. COVID is in a blip now, right? Compared to tourism, right? Not one mention that the highest infection rate in the world right now, right? Not funny,
in our community are all things that say 22 is going to be a really good year.
But also too, okay, so let me kind of like janky segue this into what we're talking about today, right? Janky segue is, you know, this city prides itself on being financially solvent, I guess, is that the word? Or being like, the city prides itself on being just economically sound. That's one thing that that the developer / Mayor Riley really hung his hat on was, hey, you know, Charleston was struggling economically. So I took it from the red and got it into the black, right? And so, you know, it's important. so it's important to Charleston to always be commercially commercially viable, to have a booming hospitality culture. And the scaffolding you saw, right? I'm a janky segue. The scaffolding we just watched fall, and then hearing Gun Show Doug, and then seeing Gun Show Doug kind of like say his and do his job. I'm not like poking at him like to be like, oh, he's evil. Doug is protecting his interests and you know, probably doing a very good job at that. But that let me see. A lot of Knicks talk. Wow, a lot of Seton Hall shout out to my Knicks. Oh, I should have uploaded the Knicks sound. All right, let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to go to my because I'm friend to the show. Ooh, shout out to all y'all people stuck. Ooh, that's my worst nightmare. Stuck in DC and that. Whew, on 95. Ooh, in that mixing bowl we call it. All right, shout out to Dave Infante though. Friend to the live stream. Look at me. I rather scroll than just kind of search because I played myself so many times on the live stream, y'all. Trying to get to Dave's tweet from the other day. I don't know why I didn't look up this first. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. It's coming. Is it coming? Let me see. Wait. I'm trying to find it. Okay, now I'm making myself mad. Sorry, y'all. I probably lost like 2 viewers. Like, let me get it together. So Dave had this really interesting janky segue, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna see if Dave tweets as much as I do, likes as much as I do. Here it is. I could have just came here. So Dave Infante, when the scaffolding fell, right, and we all watched that video. I love these observations. The dangers of Charleston under-regulated growth, right? The dangers of Charleston's under-regulated growth and South Carolina's under-regulated construction trade in 14 seconds. Now, we know that Dave is in that business realm. We know him in the whole food and beverage space and beer space and brewery space, labor issues within that industry. So when it comes to business, I listen to Dave Infante because even though he's in that one area, he's a bona fide journalist and also, he knows of what he speaks because he's reporting on this stuff, right? But that makes me, when I hear Doug tout these numbers and CVB tout these numbers about commerce, this is the cost. This is quite literally the cost. And whether it's literal harm and physical danger in the now, or this breakneck speed to kind of just get back to recovery without learning from this pause, without learning from these, entering the third year of pandemic, without learning from that is very detrimental. Shout out. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. So, all right, so let's get to it. So let's go. So basically the story that came up, and I'm going to read from notes. Okay, I'm going to read from some notes. I'm not going to read directly from, I'm not going to pull up anything on the screen, but it's a compilation. It's some notes that are compilations of thoughts with some amazingly brilliant friends, right? All right, so let me get to the, bunch of stuff. Okay, so we want to get to this. So this made headlines. Shout out City Paper. We'll start with City Paper and then we'll move to the Post and Courier. All right. So, all right, it's 8:35. Cool. All right. So Heron Farms founder named in Forbes 30 under 30 for 2022. I'm not a hater, so I'm going to go ahead and say, but also, okay, this is it. Again, I am not, throughout this conversation, no matter if I talk about startup culture, tech innovation, I am not, again, I repeat, I am not accusing this person or Heron Farms of anything akin to fraudulence or anything. I just think what we're seeing, what's reported here, is part and parcel. it's the MO in Charleston in terms of innovation and ideas that are lifted up. And so you don't have to, basically you can be surfacey and it just be like, oh my God, you just mentioned a thing. Oh, you mentioned it. Oh, you're the savior. Oh, you mentioned this. Oh, it doesn't look like. So it can't be, right? It's amazing, like to me, the imagination required to suspend disbelief. To me, it takes a lot of energy to kind of just be this willfully incurious. I don't know. Anyway, so Heron Farms founder named in Forbes, the Forbes 30 under 30. We gonna get on all that. Y'all know. All right. So I don't know if y'all are familiar. Let me just let you know that I don't know when or if I've ever had a sea bean. It may have been on my plate at some point. Don't know. Also want to say shout out to the homie who designed that logo. What's up, Blake Suarez? You were dope. Again, not coming at Heron Farms. If you love Heron Farms, your homie works there, your husband works there, your spouse works there, your partner, your boo, your hookup buddy. Good. I hope they thrive. This is all about making us more conscientious consumers, and not just consumers of things, of goods and products and services, but consumers of news and information. I'm gonna complicate y'all's relationship a little bit, but I'm not saying you gotta quit them. I'm not saying you gotta leave her. I'm just saying there's some stuff you might want to know about it before you commit. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. So according to the city paper, Charleston native Sam Norton, founder of Heron Farms, the world's first indoor vertical saltwater farm, was named on Forbes 30 under 30 2022 list earlier this month. This year's list highlighted up and coming names from the food and agriculture sector, including restaurant owners, farmers, packaged food manufacturers, and more. Norton, who is age 28, first posed the question that led to Heron Farms' creation during his graduate school stint at the College of Charleston, where he was studying for a Master's of Science in the Environmental Studies program. What if the two greatest problems today? Oh God, this is where take it how you take it. Whomever, fans and whatever. This is the shit that really get me. This is the bro culture shit that we gotta stop, right? So this makes me just kind of just respond as you just witnessed. All right. So studying for environment, he's studying to get his master's in environmental studies. So what if the two greatest problems today, sea level rise and greenhouse gas emissions, could be leveraged into sustainable agriculture? Okay, so let's go back up. Heron Farms founder, right? And Heron Farms has the dubious distinction of being the world's first indoor saltwater farm. Indoor saltwater farm. Good morning, Joni. How you doing? Good morning, B-Man. You'll love this conversation. You'll love it. All right, so y'all get any other hey, y'all saying hate each other. Joy, you says, wait, what? So we have the answer to, we have all these problems. Yep. Prestige. I feel like we should watch the hold on, indulge me. So this will not be able, I have to edit this out for YouTube. This is actually the name of one of my fantasy football leagues, not the main one. Shout out to your girl though. I won my chip. Yeah, that's basketball, but I won my chip. I am the Docina Sucia, the Dirty Dozen, 2021/22 fantasy football champion. I want my belt. Dave, Tamisha, Greg, whoever got the belt, I want my belt. All right, so this is what I feel like.
Robert, that was fucking.
This is gonna get edited out on YouTube for real. This is what I feel like when they talk some of these tech solutions. This is what I feel like they really be saying.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You got a lot of this, buddy, and you got a lot of these.
Thank you.
Excuse me, everyone, if I can have your attention, please.
Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Don't know me.
My name's C.L. Doback. I'm Robert's oldest son, biological one.
Biological one, y'all.
Check.
You want to shut this down, D-man?
Yeah, well, just hold on.
Let me stop. I'm not saying that Sam's presentation was like this.
Once in a lifetime business opportunity.
Happy birthday, Derek.
Music.
Prestige.
Worldwide.
Why?
That's how I feel like these pitch meetings be going, right? I just do. So anyway, so that was one framing. I'm a hop because it's just a bevy of resources a bevy of articles I need to get to. So let's go to the other one from the city, from the Post and Courier. My leg about to fall. Oh my God. This is the thing about sitting on these benches. But guess what? I got I got a standing desk coming. Who's trying to be Pat McAfee? Your girl is. Yes, we will be probably trying to stand during some of these live streams because my leg fell asleep already. All right, so this is the Post and Courier. I don't know, Parker Milner, learning his writing. I think he took over where Hannah Raskin supposedly left off. Okay. All right, so Forbes 30 under 30 indoor farm founder plans for more growth in 2022. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little bit, and I'm gonna go right to my notes. This is where the Post and Courier and other reporters could have done more to really challenge some of the science or the approach to this problem, right? Or some of the assertions. The assertion that Heron Farms is addressing an aspect of the climate crisis or the fallout from a climate crisis, right? So it says one of the food industry's top entrepreneurs in 2021, Sam Norton, is earning national acclaim for his innovative work at Heron Farms, an indoor vertical saltwater farm delivering sea beans to Charleston restaurants, right? While he's grateful for the praise, here comes a little bit of, while he's grateful for the praise, Norton 28 isn't focused on being named the annual Forbes 30 under 30 food list. You're not interested in it, Sam? It's an application process. Even if you're nominated, you have to complete an application. So let's not with the false humility. Like, let's own it, baby. I'll go ahead and trot the bases. It's okay. It's not disrespecting this. Just go ahead and trot the bases. Either you or somebody put the application in. You don't just, sometimes they do find people, but I'm gonna assume that there was an application being filled out. I don't know. I might be wrong. Okay, so he's not focused on being named the 30 under 30, yada yada yada. He says that highlights up and coming superstars superstars from the world of restaurants, packaged foods, alcohol, recipe development, yada yada yada. Rather, he wants to show that the sea beans he grew up eating on the Isle of Palms. Okay, so we got some class conundrums, right? Not saying you can't, come from the Isle of Palms and not, be with the shits, but okay. Grew up eating on the Isle of Palms, have the ability to add the final touch to a restaurant dish, garnish, while giving back to the environment in the process. Completely not. So we're going to do some more stuff here, right? The idea to build a business focused on sea beans originated in a food capstone course in the College of Charleston's graduate school. A grant from a startup, so don't forget that, a grant from a startup competition funded by the South Carolina Department of Agriculture's agribusiness, and me and another Black creator in this space talk about this space a lot and how there's no Black presence in this space, but that's for another live stream, right? The lack of Black leadership or Black thought leadership within the agricultural space. Shout out to the South Carolina Democratic Party for not lifting up a nominee to at least run when we had a chance. Dude ran on the polls, we get what we get, right? Anyway, South Carolina Department of Agriculture's Agribusiness Center for Research and Entrepreneurship helped Norton get his business off the ground. The original idea, listen, this is very important. The original idea was basically to grow them in the marsh, similar to how you might cultivate oysters, Norton said. What we are realizing is the big outdoor projects were all running into the same issues. Are they? Because I got a friend who's an oyster man. I don't know. Okay. Sea beans are halophytes, right? A salt tolerant plant, like it's a salt tolerant plant, right? That belonged to the genus Salicornia. Okay, the Latin name. The crop grows in salt-rich soils, hypersaline soils, right? That are uninhabitable for most plants. I see y'all in the chat, right? All right. As it pulls salt from the soil, sea beans transform the ground into a habitable region for other plants over time. So this was the original business was to grow the sea beans. So Sam was going to grow the sea beans in the marsh, right? Right, to help restore marshes that had been depleted by various like environmental changes, right? That was the original idea that I gleaned from what I understand. And also this, like, I worked out of Low Country Local First off of Meeting Street for a good chunk of time. And I do remember, if I'm not mistaken, I think Sam had a ponytail back then. I do believe the sea bean thing was going on when I was there. I believe I used to ear hustle a little bit and see what the white folks was up to. Especially Low Country Local First had that whole agricultural incubator, so Dirt Works, right? All right, let me look at the chat. Let me check. Okay, so B-Man, I think you B-Man. I think you already nailed it. Move to the head of the class, sir. Who's getting the pizza party at the end of the at the end of the quarter? Who's getting the pizza party? Who's going to Pizza Hut? Okay. Indoor farming is not a great solution. Very resource and look at you cheating. Look at you. You want to teach the class, sir? Sir. Very resource intensive, and the sea bean don't taste so great. Come on. Don't put that shit on my plate and tell me it's caviar. Stop. All right, this thing, it might be Charleston's caviar. Is the sea bean Charleston's caviar? No. Caviar tastes good, right? It's salty. I can't remember when I had caviar. Okay. The B-Man, he went on to say, the things we are funding as we spiral into climate catastrophe are infuriating. Exactly that, right? So not demonizing, but bruh. And I will say this. I'm sure Sam is built for this, right? Because when you're in that tech world, don't you have to pitch your shit all the time? And don't you have to listen to prospective investors poke holes and ask questions? I'm sure the good ones do it, maybe. Or maybe they Elizabeth Holmesing it up and just like, oh, she ain't got no product yet, but let's go ahead and evaluate her business at how many billion, right? She ain't even got no product out, right? But this is before she even had the Fugazi third party. Like, it just feels like there's no who's asking the question. So maybe Sam has heard these questions that we're going to lift up today. In the live live stream. So you already nailed it, B-Man. You're getting the pizza party. All right. So you saying the sea bean pulls the salt, makes the marsh more inhabitable for other plant life. The salt gets stored into the leaves of the sea bean, right? And I guess again the initial idea was to help make certain marsh areas, like to fortify them, right? To restore them, right? So he's saying that he ran into an issue, which this is understandable, and I totally empathize with pivoting, right? I've pivoted how many times? Pivoting is okay. Course correcting is okay. I actually encourage course correction, right? But it seems like he hit a barrier when especially when this part right here, when it says over time the sea beans are crowded out, making it difficult to farm the crop outdoors. But so why turn to use B-Man's phrase, a more resource intensive approach. So my friends in my notes said this, right? So I'm just going to read a little bit like it's a conversation, so bear with me, right? So the original intent, this is from my friends, okay? Friends with science degrees out here really getting it. People with real big brains, okay? Not just, my cousin Carl. Who, shout out to any cousins named Carl. All right, so the original intent of farming sea beans, which are locally called sea pickles, right? And these were as a quote from Mr. Norton. It says from the original talk. Listen to this. This is real savage. This is savage as fuck. So Sam's original framing was that he wanted to quote turn sea level rise into food. What in the water world dystopian? That is so, when I tell you that's so gross, can you disaster capitalism? Can you say oh wow, How do you commodify calamity? How do you commodify climate catastrophe? Right? Where there's a will, there's a way. Right? So those are Sam's words, to turn sea level rise into food. The beans grow in salty soil, where it's even too salty for the regular marsh, the spartana that's there, right? Sea pickles pull the salt out of the soil and store it in their leaves, right? All right. So if you get rid of the leaves by, say, eating them, then you have made a small piece of the ground suitable for other marsh plants. So I guess they're meaning like cultivation. Okay. So theoretically, you could grow sea beans out in the sun, irrigated by the tides, and harvest them and remove that salt, the salt in the leaves, to extend the. So I did give it a gender. She in this clip is saying that you could just I guess grow a crop of the sea beans, and then go and take off as many leaves or have a leaf removal process that'll help with that aim and objective. What up, Allie? How you doing? Good morning. Good morning. I missed you. All right. Justin, you said, yeah. You quoting Benny Starr? Yeah. What we gonna do? One of my favorite tracks from that album. What are you gonna do when the water keeps rising? For sure, absolutely. Y'all know I got another podcast. Y'all know. Y'all check it out. The Water Podcast from Policy Link. Come through. All right. So yeah, that was the question that they raised here, right? So they said theoretically you could grow sea beans out in the sun, irrigated by the tides, and harvest them and remove that salt to extend the marsh in an inland direction. Which is critical work as waters are encroaching inland. So you could argue that like Sam was on the right track. Like many startup entrepreneurs, they start out in the right direction, but then there's these curious twists and turns sometimes that they make out of a need to pivot, and I acknowledge that, right? So there's critical work to be done in terms of like helping to protect inland areas from the encroaching water, right? Higher tidal ranges, drowning the low marsh, this person says, right? So the article goes on to say, let me see if I can find it so I can show it to you why, because they are responding directly to parts of the article. Let me see the article. Oh, okay. So this part right here is what they pointed out. Sea beans are, Halifax already read that, right? The crop, and I already read this to y'all. The crop grows in hypersaline soil, right? So she says, as the article points out, the crop grows in hypersaline soils that are uninhabitable for most plants as it pulls salt from the soil, right? Sea beans transform the ground into a habitable region for those plants, right? Over time, the sea beans are crowded out. That's what the article, we just read that, right? So basically, and what this person in this section of the notes is saying is that there's double speak here that no one challenges. So basically, because the sea beans were doing their thing, making the salty marsh perform habitable for other marsh plants, the founder here decided to abandon growing them outside, which is ironic because the original intent was to restore the marsh, right? Again, so there was a pivot, right? Not to provide, so you set out saying that you want to restore the marsh. You then okay, I ran into some logistical issues. You brought it inside. And as B-Man already said, indoor growing is super resource intensive, right? And not only that, the sea beans are now being used as, to quote the friend here, a garnish at fancy restaurants, right? So that's the other part of the story. I'm gonna skip down to that. Where is, so this was interesting. Heron Farms sells to national distributors and local warehouses like Limehouse Produce and Grow Food Carolina. I remember the day they Grow Food Carolina unfollowed me on Instagram. That was funny. Heron Farms, let me say it again. Heron Farms sells. I watch certain institutions' behavior. I don't watch everybody unfollow me. I don't have an app tracker or nothing like that. But some I'm like, oh, okay, I thought you was with the shits. Okay, no, not really. Okay. Heron Farms sells the national distributors and local wholesalers like Limehouse Produce and Grow Food Carolina, allowing local chefs like Jacques Larson is it Jacques? Yeah, Jacques Larson of Wild Olive and Obstinate Daughter, that's way out there. Oh, that makes sense. He's from Isle of Palms, right, Sam is? Okay. So yeah, Jacques Larson of Wild Olive, that's on Johns Island, and Obstinate Daughter, to get their hands on Norton sea beans, right? So this is a quote from, I became aware of Heron Farms because of my wife, Carrie, who was working for Low Country Local First. Shout out to the homies over there. Shout out to my friends over there, Low Country Local First. Says, I remember, listen to this. I remember them delivering the sea beans in a very elaborate wooden box. Fall for it every time. This is what I do on dates, y'all. This is how I catfish. Let me stop. I'm just joking. So I remember them delivering the sea beans in a very elaborate wooden box that had their logo on it. And from what my friend's saying, it was like burnt on like a brand, I guess. It's a bamboo box, I believe. All right. It says, so I love the fact that they were definitely grown from a sustainability standpoint. They said they love the fact that they were grown from a sustainability standpoint. It's such a cool business model. They go on to say, Larson goes on to say, it's such a cool business model, and more importantly, a great resource in terms of very unique local product being grown sustainably. It's not being grown. So this is where I'm going to come at the reporter here. What's his name? Parker Milner. Parker. So when you say that, so this is when I, as a reader, this is where kind of sometimes Hannah would do that thing where, okay, I'm gonna let you rock, but then I'm gonna come back with this, right? So let me see if they come with this. Let me see if jog my memory. Larson says he loves the texture and the brininess of the sea beans. I ain't gonna go into that, right? So want to get more into, let me get back into the notes because the article is woefully incomplete. So again, the original intent was to help fortify the marsh area, right? So, and not to have the sea beans be like just garnish, right? For fancy restaurants. So instead, he took the plants indoors, right? So instead of sunlight, they get grow lamps fueled by power plants, right? Instead of tidal waters wetting the roots, they use city water and irrigation systems. This renders the plants even less sustainable than most organic vegetables, right? Y'all know that too. If you really follow that whole process, I think a lot of people are studying where their food comes from and how it's grown, and is it sustainable or not, right? So some organic produce, while you might feel great buying it because of health reasons or whatever, or just your values. Some of it is not grown. Most of it is not grown sustainably, or some of it is not grown sustainably. Let me say it that way. So it renders the plants, the sea beans, less sustainable than most organic vegetables. Like baby lettuce, sea beans grown by indoor farmers like Heron Farms are nurtured on high energy lamps and tap water. The argument for sustainability of baby lettuce, which is, I guess, the product that they sell there, is by extension, and by extension sea beans, is that you can dose the water with the exact right amount of fertilizer so that they're not dumping excess nutrients into the soil. This is cheaper for the farmer and mitigates the problems to downstream water bodies that receive runoff from farms that use too much fertilizer, right? It causes like the algae blooms. Y'all know what that look like, right? Shout out Miami, shout out Florida. All right, so I don't know if this entrepreneur is fertilizing the beans, right? But they wanted to bring that up though, right? Hold on, right. And it says that early on they weren't adding salt to the irrigation water. Turns out beans could use salt water. Okay. Right. So I think this, so B-Man, to your point, this person lifts up the taste of the sea beans and why that might have prompted the entrepreneur to move indoors, because of the taste, right? The brininess that Larson was talking about, that brininess and whatnot, the semi-firm crispness, all that other stuff, right? So growing them indoors, you can kind of make them a little bit more palatable. Let me read what y'all saying up here. Jazz hands. What are you talking about? Very prestige worldwide, right? Right, exactly. Let me see what y'all say. Okay, I'm going back. What in the world? Right. All right, shining turd. Joy, you're just as bad as Jessica some days. It's bad meaning good. You think they're building, B-Man, you said, I think they're building out of all those portable shipping containers. They are to get ready for when Nancy Mace comes to legalize. That's real. That's real.
Now listen, that's called motherfucker.
A lot of these moves this is why I was so upset with the Democratic Party not positioning any candidates to run for agricultural, commerce secretary, whatever. I mean, agricultural secretary or whatever, is because of that. Because you see people setting up. You see tech getting into environmentalist causes. You see tech speculating. You see prospectors, right? Looking at where the next boom is. If it's not real estate, it's going to be something else, right? And that combined with what's coming down the pike around cannabis legislation, and we saw it with the hemp and the limited license, and people just really trying to run to buy a bunch of farmland or get a bunch of licenses and hoard all of that access and hoard all those things. It is a precursor for what's to come. So absolutely, I think that and I don't think that that's necessarily right. I don't think that old boy should be telling us his whole business plan. Like, we're not investors, but you out here, talking like, you saving the planet and whatnot. You like, let our powers combine and stuff. If you out here saying that, then we got to actually look into how you grow your food. And I just don't know. This is a layup. Let me see if. No, I read this article last night. It's quick. So I read this last night. I just don't know why Parker didn't but have you heard any criticism about how you grow your food, how you grow, the energy that you use to grow indoors versus outdoors in natural habitat, right? Like, I mean, Clemson, I know he's not Clemson, but these schools do it. So there was no educational institution that you could partner with. There was no agricultural program outside of College of Charleston, that you could partner with where you can at least test this technique to grow the sea beans to help rehabilitate marsh areas. Like, there were no people who actually have access to certain areas. I just don't understand. I don't know. I don't understand that. Right. So, the article starts out by implying that they came up with the solution. So, right. And let's go back to the top, Joy. That's what really kind of like, your editors played the fuck out of you. Like, you didn't land the plane. So, and I know I want to talk, right? Ms. Rant, Ms. Squirrel. So one of the food entrepreneurs, go read it again. One of the food industry's top entrepreneurs in 2021, Sam Norton, is earning national acclaim for his innovative work at Heron Farms and indoor verticals. It literally, right? And then it starts off saying, it's innovative. It's delivering, indoor saltwater, delivering sea beans. I didn't mean to click on that. Not right now. That's here. Okay, this is the website. Let's just read from the website. All right, let's read from the website. I started laughing. Early humans gathered seeds from the healthiest and best tasting plants they found, sowed them in fertile soils, provided them with fresh water, and reaped their bounties. Simply, they created agriculture. Thousands of years later, our global agricultural systems and cultivation methods have become outdated and strained by our adverse effect. Okay, all right, I'm done with the propaganda. All right, so why am I bringing this up? Because I believe that this is an instance of greenwashing. I believe that and I'm gonna go back to this real quick, janky U-turn, whatever you want to call it. Damn, this leg is sleepy. I think that this is greenwashing. I think that also this is like feel good startup tech culture making its way into these spaces. I think people are prospectors. Like, I'm thinking like gold rush type deal. That analogy comes, right? Someone PR'd the fuck out of this. You didn't say heck, but I'll say it. Yeah, because they don't taste good. From what I hear people say all the time that they don't taste good. What up, Kia? Right? But so let me just do this janky U-turn. So remember when we read from Joshua Robinson's op-ed that was published back in July of 2020, right? And the title was, Army Corps plan for Charleston is worse than doing nothing at all. And so part of the part of the biggest thing, the biggest objections that like Josh trained me to look at things like this a little bit more skeptically. So it says, so let's just read it. In April, the Army Corps of Engineers released a proposal for protecting Charleston from storm surge using nearly $2 billion of concrete. We know we already talked about this, the difference between green infrastructure and gray infrastructure, right? Shout out to my girl Taylor on the Mic'd Up Pod. All right, using nearly $2 billion in concrete walls, rip-rap breakwaters, pump stations, and property buyouts. So that pump station part was huge because it was through Joshua that I learned that they're going to put diesel pumps near water. And, you know, we've seen that in cities like Miami. Shit, you see some pumping going on the peninsula, right? But this is just like that immediately just set off alarm bells. If I'm reading this correctly with Joshua in terms of, wait a minute, these are the solutions, right? That same week, the report released, the clients and friends called him and to inquire, what do we think about the plan? So Robinson Design Engineers is a local team of hydrologists, ecological engineers, and hydraulics engineers for 12 years. For 12 years, we have solved problems related to water and helped communities across the Southeast incorporate nature-based solutions in their water management plans. Well, Mika, what I got to do with the... Again, this is the culture of innovation here in Charleston. They love throwing that word around. They love calling this place Silicon Harbor, but I'm not seeing, it's not giving what it's supposed to give. Like, I'm not seeing it, right? And so Josh lifted up a number of things, just like my friend did in his email about the sea beans. It's like, hey, okay, cool. You know, you've got my attention. Like, and the reason why this person responded and the reason why we've had these conversations around my group of friends was because we're excited to see innovators in this space. We're excited to see people who come up with ideas, especially people we may have worked with or worked alongside of or know in some way, shape, or form. We're excited. I am. I know I might sound like a hater half the time. Half the time I feel like, this, indulge me again, half the time I feel like this grows... I'm a mute it while I talk. Sometimes I feel like this gnarly Captain Planet character, this grim Captain Planet character that Don Cheadle played 10 years ago on Funny or Die. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm spoiling the party for everybody. I'm a little too over the top, whatever. But I literally do start out optimistic. I start out excited. That's what got me to Charleston. Oh shit, there's innovation here. It's Silicon Harbor. Oh, they've got this thing called Benefit Focus now. Oh, they got Blackbot. Oh, they've got Spark. Oh, they've got Dig South. They bringing Gary Vee down. Like, I fell for it all. But because I was excited, and that's why I don't have any. I'm not embarrassed. But then when you start like looking, I'm like, wait a minute. The solutions don't sound like solutions. And so I think, you know, my friends and Joshua's not the one who wrote this email, but friends like Joshua, friends like all these other folks who work in this space, and the conversations I've had over the last couple of years, as an environmental activist, you learn really quickly that a lot of people just mention something is green, mention something sustainable, and the city doesn't really challenge it, and they definitely don't challenge it. Even with the you fly in the Dutch, you go over to Amsterdam, you learn. They tell you don't fill the Gadsden Creek. They tell you what to do, and you literally just kind of sidestep those recommendations, or you kind of create these really weird workarounds around the recommendations to make it look like you're kind of adopting some of them or most of them, but you're not. So I know I let this like gnarly Captain Planet play. But like, it just makes me feel, like, y'all, I don't know if y'all know this whole thing. It's going to get, when I play it, it's going to get popped from YouTube. But it's when Don Cheadle played a really, really, really dark Captain Planet. He turned all the humans into trees.
The power is mine, bitches.
I felt like this was my energy this morning. The power is mine, bitch. Let me turn your startup into a tree. But anyway. But no, I'm not the dark Captain Planet. I'm not, y'all. But no, it's just like we start off excited. We're rooting for you, Tyra voice, and like then we get this shit, and it is greenwashing. So while this is not about tech specifically, I just wanted to play this just for frame of reference in terms of greenwashing. This is just now this video from the beginning of the year, or from the beginning of 2021.
Is the green product you just bought actually environmentally friendly? Or is a company misleading you with false claims to get your money? Well, it might be the latter, which is also known as greenwashing. Right. You've probably heard the term, but greenwashing is a form of misleading marketing that makes you, the consumer, believe companies are doing more to protect the environment than they actually are.
So, and so again, not accusing anybody of fraud, not accusing anybody of like just being like, you know, shifty. But I think when you talk about startups, I'm gonna pull up a picture. Excuse me, pardon me. When you talk about startup culture, and I'm not gonna say that I was in startup culture like that. But I was in it. I was pretty. I mean, I literally came down here with a bunch of cash, trying to create a website and trying to create a content hub for inspiration and DIY hacks and all that, right? So I'm rubbing shoulders with tech people. I'm getting not robbed literally, but I'm getting my money took from some really cornball women, you know, who took tens of thousands of dollars from me to do something that I probably could have just taught myself. But but basically I'm living and learning and learning hard lessons in this tech space and in this startup culture here in Charleston. And, you know, while I'm there, I realized that some of those rules are coming into, yeah, of course, like it does with everything. They come into the education space. They come into the social and racial justice space. A lot of the startup culture, like, hey, I got this really trendy idea, and it's really, you know, led by a white guy that can really command a room and really pitch something really well. And yet we're not looking at what it really is. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a startup, there's all these earmarks of a startup with this Heron Farms concept of the sea beans and whatnot, and him make it 30 under 30, there's a lot of marketing there and not real substance there. And like y'all have already, and some of y'all didn't even need B-Man to say that. What up, K-Bells? I didn't see you. Some of y'all didn't need B-Man or myself to kind of distill it, or my friends in this note to distill this issue. Some of y'all already knew, like, wait a minute, if you've grown indoors, that sound like a really, like, that's a really, you know, ambitious plan. But this, of course, greenwashing can be used across different companies and whatnot. And this example is just two, but the second one is the one where I want us to meditate on the process of conveying a false impression of providing misleading information about how a company's products are more environmentally sound. Now, I don't know the origin of this definition, and I don't know if this is something that environmentalists, those in the environmental justice space, I don't know if they agree with that, but I like that one, felt more appropriate. So I think that there is, I'm not accusing anybody of being fraudulent, but there is, like, look, we just came out this Theranos thing, bruh. Like, there is this feeling of like, is this sustainable? Is this more environmentally sound? And I wanted to look up some more. Shout out to, French. I wanted to read something else at the end of this, of these notes from my friends in this space that really kind of knocked and nailed it, made it, like, drove it home, right? So we got out of the whole fertilizer thing and all that other stuff. All right. Okay, so this part right here, hold on. Right, so they talk about also, remember in the article, Larson talked about how the sea beans came in this very unique packaging, an elaborate, the word was elaborate, was used in the Post and Courier, an elaborate wooden box with the logo like branded on the box. So this person says in this part of the email, you know, the fact that this product came in these bamboo boxes with the logo burned on or burned in, is just green. They called it greenwashing, right? Just because a product, this is the part, just because a product doesn't come wrapped in plastic doesn't make it sustainable. And I just think that
now listen,
very simple.
That's called motherfucker.
Very, very, very simple, but bars, right? Very, very, very simple, but that's exactly it. Like, we fall, and Charleston does this all the time. Charleston, and I was joking earlier about me catfishing. I never catfished a dude in my life. Word is born. But I feel like Charleston is like the ultimate catfish. I think it is. I think Charleston is the ultimate catfish, and like attracts like. Charleston is like, we're the greatest city, we're the most historic city, we're the oldest city, we're the this city, to that city, the top city, the lowest city, the highest city. They all that, right? You get here, and then like, what do some tourists do? What do some tourists do? They don't listen to their girlfriend. Girl, that is, What do some tourists do? They don't listen to their girlfriends or their guy friends or they friends. They don't listen to them like, girl, that's a one night stand, girl. That's a temporary thing, girl. No. That ain't, you really, basically tourists come here expecting that Disneyland, that Disney World, and they get here and they live here. The cost of living, education system, if they have a family, they're confronted with the rising sea level, climate change, like the rent too damn high. Can't vacation in your own city because you can't afford to stay at the Dewberry or whatever the new Hilton is down there or whatever, or the Bennett or whatever. Like it sobers you up real quick when you start hitting these like, damn, like, Charleston's they didn't confront slavery. Okay. Just because it has a fucking sweetgrass basket in the picture, like we got to stop acting like it's kumbaya here, right? I think that's very important. You could take out the key. You said you could take out the environmentally sound and replace it with anything. And, right. I thought about Kia, to that point. I thought about how this live stream could be. We can have the same conversation with racial and social justice spaces, or other issues like race and class and whatnot. Justin, you dropped in the chat, roads are shit. No public transit, right? You get here, you like, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna be on a boat. No, you ain't gonna be on no boat. Where you gonna store that boat? You gonna buy that boat? Where you gonna put it? When the hurricane come, where your boat gonna be? Right. Don't let the good, the concierge at the hotel, like, don't let them gas you. Like, don't let the carefully curated advertorials in publications in the lobby. I don't remember seeing too many Charleston Chronicles in them lobbies, at them boutique hotels. I'm just saying. I don't want to see a lot of Garden Gun. A lot of Skirt magazine, not a lot of Chronicle, not a lot of state newspaper at all, right? Right. So anyway, Charleston is the ultimate catfish. I think there's some catfishery going on there. I think there's some catfishery. So look, I talked about the Marketplace Tech podcast. I love Marketplace in general, like the whole like Marketplace universe, but Marketplace Tech is my homie, and so. It was just serendipitous that the Holmes verdict came down as I was talking about Silicon Harbor and the startup culture and innovation and sustainability here. Cause and I want to be fair to old boy, he ain't the only one. And like I try to point to the city just now with I talk about it all the time. Whether it's a startup, whether it's our city council, whether it's the engineers, whether it's ACOM. We've talked about people who come up with these solutions that are not solutions, that just say, sustainable, green, friendly, but they're not real solutions. And like what Dee said earlier, right? Mitigation versus, alleviation? Right, mitigation versus alleviation, right? We talked about that ad nauseum. So I hope that anybody who's gonna run tell that, or if homeboy checks this out for himself, no, he not doing anything that's unlike anything else, which is a problem. But also, he's not the only one. I'm not trying to heap all this. He don't own all this. He's just one symptom of a larger problem within our press culture and within our business culture here, where we don't question growth. We don't question popularity. If it's popular, if it's trending, if it has a lot of followers on TikTok, it's automatically given credibility over like real thought, real introspection, real hard nose, like when an engineer, like someone from or Robinson Design Engineers, when someone from that firm tells you no, this is not feasible, or this is gonna backdoor you in a way you don't want, right? When they say that, the city don't want to hear that. Some of these institutions don't want to hear or know, and so they lean into that whole Silicon Harbor bullshit marketing. Shout out to Justin, because you got me on that rabbit hole yesterday. This Justin. Jesus, I'm just gonna do what you do, what I think you did. Charleston, and you sent me links, but it was on Instagram. Charleston, Silicon Harbor because this is when I came down. I fell for it. Dig South, all that, right? And so let me go back to my Twitter. So on Twitter, I'm sure one of these. Yeah. So on Twitter. Oh my gosh. Yeah, right here. This is why. So I tweeted this yesterday and it resonated with a couple people. So I said, remember, let me make it better. I said this. I said, remember when they used to refer to Charleston as Silicon Harbor? All right, was that just a massive real estate gimmick or what? Like, I'm still waiting for Google Fiber. Seriously, like all those tech bros at all those mixers at the alley, those tech bros at like everywhere, low country, local first, every networking space at the top of this hotel or restaurant, they all talked about what was coming. And I'm like, dude. Somebody ain't clocking for their shift because Google Fiber ain't where, right? So anyway, so Silicon Harbor and that triggered some responses, right? So shout out to the homie, friend to the content. Paul Bowers here is saying that he remembers Ernest. Is it Andrade? I don't know. Trying to make Silicon Harbor, trying to make it the new Fetch, right? And then other people was like, oh no, yeah, this person too. Right. And then like this person says it's branding. Ernest did have a hand in it, but so did Nate DePore. Now that's a name. This dude was hoisted on mad shoulders. Nate DePore of People Matter. That person, Ryan, I don't know you, Ryan, but Ryan. Good looking out. Cause that's exactly the name that came to mind. So like, I know Justin, you Googled, right? Silicon Harbor. And like even one person in the thread said even that they used to put that on the College of Charleston acceptance letters. Like, hey, this is Silicon Harbor, right? And then Justin, you tweeted this Silicon Harbor was a personal favorite. These old articles from their PR pushes are nauseating. Shout out to Justin. All right, they hit all the key themes in that one. So let me click on this one. Yeah, and that's the thing too. So like this, I'm just gonna keep it. Y'all know I keep it a buck. So even the Forbes thing, right? Screams, I got a team. Screams, I've got access. Screams, maybe someone's helping me navigate this process, this application process. Because again, you have to fill out an application to be on for most people. And this list is husky. What is it like? It's like 600 some people. They got like hemispheres, like North America, South America. Like it covers a lot. Let me see. The Forbes, right? And it's 30. It's a whole directory. Like you gotta like whatever. And I ain't throwing shade, but so anyway, no, I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say what I was gonna say. But yeah, so they got this whole what? Ben Simmons is on there. Ben Simmons? Was that Ben Simmons? That's interesting. But this screams marketing. The point of me bringing it up. That's Ben Simmons. This screams marketing, right? So this is the piece that Justin found and tweeted about yesterday. And the title is, let me make it larger. I got you in the chat. All right, Silicon Harbor has become a tech landing spot for some weary city dwellers, right? This is from 2017. You literally can just Google Silicon Harbor, right? And it just says, I don't want to spread propaganda, but they talk about all the things, and it's really for real estate. This is a real estate draw, and this is part of the quote unquote grift. This is part of the grift, right? All right, so let me go back to, let me see. So yeah, so the Forbes 30 under 30 to me screams PR, screams at least some sort of comm strategy, especially if they are this part of this article is about growth, right? So you want to, I went from marketplace tech to let's listen to a little bit of this, right? Because I think this was interesting. Let's listen to this, and this will kind of get into what I'm trying to. It'll make it more cohesive. What I just touched on in terms of the startup culture. Silicon Harbor, marketing, real estate, like this will kind of make sense when I play this, I think.
This Marketplace Tech podcast is supported by Axonius. IT complexity is increasing, and traditional cybersecurity asset inventory approaches no longer cut it. Enter Axonius. Axonius correlates asset data from existing solutions to provide an always up-to-date inventory, uncover gaps, and automate action. Want to learn more and try it free?
I see you saying facade. Good morning.
Axonius.com/marketplace-tech. That's AXONIUS.com/marketplace-tech.
We're ringing in the new year here at Marketplace. It's here to stay in 2022 that makes people smarter.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it
went
till
on trial and lost.
So it said fake it till you make it, went on trial and lost. So we know that Elizabeth Holmes, and again, I repeat, I am not comparing Elizabeth Holmes, her practices, her fraudulent behavior. I'm not comparing that to old boy. I am not doing that. But again, people's hunger to be ahead of everybody else, to get in on the ground floor, to invest early, you invest in a young entrepreneur. That is what I'm challenging and questioning here, not necessarily the outcomes of this verdict, right? But I do think Heron Farms is an argument you can make that Heron Farms is being a little fast and loose with these claims of sustainability. I don't even think that's me being harsh. I think it's basic. It takes a lot of energy to grow these motherfucking beans. Yeah. I know you're going upside down and all that other shit, or I guess that's vertical farms or vertical roots. But anyway, I know you're doing all this indoor, all that other stuff, but like, dude, this looks like it's not sustainable, right? Like, just somebody asked that question. It's just not sustainable, son. Can you address that? I'm sure they wouldn't say it like that, but can we? But like, but there is something about like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna keep. There is something about the culture that I think Elizabeth Holmes fell prey to, and then took it to a new level when she started like straight up lying about her shit being on a battlefield and shit. I do think you this whole we'll just figure it out as we go along, and you see as he's pivoting, he's getting validation. He's getting indicators from investors, from reputable institutions like our agricultural, secretary's office or what have you. You're getting grants, you're getting opportunity, you're getting a platform, you're being featured, right? You're getting all those things. So you don't have many voices pushing back and like, hold up there, buddy. Wait a second there, pal. Right? You've pivoted twice. Well, let's go back to your statements around like why you built this thing, right?
From American Public Media, this is Marketplace Tech. I'm Kimberly Adams.
Yeah, I don't know, same facade to your question. K-Bells, say it again.
This week, a jury found Elizabeth Holmes of the defunct diagnostics company Theranos guilty of 4 counts that she defrauded investors. While running the company, she claimed Theranos had proprietary technology that could test someone for a variety of diseases and ailments using just a drop of blood. That wasn't true. So what does the jury's decision mean for the future of investing in biotech startups? Elizabeth Lopato is deputy editor at The Verge, where she covered the trial closely for several months. She says a major theme those attending the trial heard was how Holmes spoke with investors about whether Theranos had contracts with the military and if the company's machine, nicknamed Edison, actually performed the tests she said it did.
Shout out to New Jersey.
A lot of what we discussed in court was the difference between the future and the present tense. And it's one thing to say, in the future, I want to do something, or in the future, it is our goal to do something. And it's another thing to say, it's already working, we can already do this. And so I think that was a place where we spent a lot of time, was the difference between, what one's aspirations might be for this tech and what Holmes was claiming it could already do. And we saw recordings of her, including on Jim Cramer's Mad Money, responding to John Carreyrou's original 2015 Wall Street Journal article, saying, no, the tech can do this. And I have to believe that if she's saying that in public to Jim Cramer, that's also probably what she's saying in private.
So then tell me what this ruling means for Holmes in particular.
If you think about it, there were sort of 2 chunks of charges against her. And one was about patients and one was about investors. And so what we saw was that she was convicted of conspiracy to defraud investors and of some specific investors. There were 3 counts where they could not reach a verdict.
Okay.
But they did seem to unanimously agree.
So that's just this is a really short podcast. I'm gonna skip to like the latter part where I think the reporter from The Verge kind of talks about, well, the host asked a critical question about, and I should have timestamped it in my head, but we'll figure it out and find it. Asked about what this means for biotech, essentially. Hold on, let me see if I can. They don't let you do it. Hold up. Pardon me, y'all.
That she was not guilty of defrauding to the court. Had to have been, I think,
culture.
Okay. Yeah.
And there probably would have had to have been, I think, maybe more work from the prosecution to make that connection a lot clearer.
What did we learn in this case about the types of people that got roped into this, and what does that kind of tell us about the culture?
Okay, now,
well, I thought, and again, this is an area where I noticed that, like,
what does the outcome of this case mean for the biotech startup industry more broadly?
There you go.
I don't know that we're going to get a good answer to that for another couple of years. Now, going into this, we certainly heard from female founders that it was harder for them to be taken seriously after Holmes.
Like if Elizabeth Holmes would have just been treading water just like every other fucking business, if she would just tread water, right? And like, I'm not saying wait for the pandemic, but like, bitch, you know how many at-home tests I've taken over the past 2 years? How many, like, seriously, for everything? Like, I didn't want to go to the doctor's office. I'll just swab whatever right here. Like, serious, like, how many pictures of like maybe like a eczema patch, or like I did so much at home counseling, my therapy, coronavirus testing, blood testing, like all this stuff like all these things exist now. Birth control, I don't mind sharing that. The NERCS app. Like, I've gotten so much stuff, from telehealth or these new biotech startups or whatever. Like, if she just would have waited, she would have been like, and would have just like under-promised and overperformed in some area. Once you realize you don't have the technology to do the one-drop test, and shout out to the pharmacist I used to work with at Target that called that bullshit when it happened. I was following them on Facebook a long time ago. It was all the doctors in my life were super skeptical. But if she would have just chill for a second and just like, okay, we can do this ethically without lying. But now you up there talking about, our technology is in a war field. Like, get out of here.
Particularly if they were in the diagnostic space where she was. But one of the things that I think is really interesting here is that we're seeing a lot of the trappings of the tech industry applied to the biotech space, right? Like, there was sort of this tech cloak around the diagnostic technology that seemed to sort of fool people into thinking that this would behave the same way that a software company might.
The culture of fake it till you make it is so central to,
and it's everywhere,
the startup culture.
And to Kia's point, you see this startup, this thing when tech is involved, right? Because if you think if I've complicated your relationship with Heron Farms and Vertical Roots or whomever, or wait till I get into a sustainable or greenwash philanthropy in Charleston. Wait till I do that live stream. That one gonna be a goodie. That one gonna be good, right? But you see that once technology or an environmentalist value set, once that is introduced into a conversation, once that is part of a company story, we get confused. Like, it can't be that bad. Just like with nonprofits, right? And shout out to Brandon who made that tweet the other day. Brandon was like, nonprofit used to just be, and y'all even said it to me, nonprofit, you didn't question it. Oh, okay, they doing good things, yada, yada, yada. No. Hold up, this is a multi-billion dollar like situation here, and it's doing everything from undermining movement work to also subverting very important resources, monetary resources, fiscal, whatever, resources away from the grassroots organizers and into the pockets of the already wealthy and rich, and the people that hoard wealth, right? And it's also philanthropy and nonprofit Nonprofits help to also serve as some sort of like consciousness car wash. Like, oh, you did a bad thing, just donate to Harvard. Oh, you did a bad thing, just donate to CFC, right? Or to a foundation associated with these institutions or whatever. So you're seeing that when tech enters the chat, or when tech or environmentalism enters the chat, it does some things where people don't question it as much. And I think that some of the savvy tech bros know that. And they also, I think they also know that people like feeling like they're in the know, like they're ahead of the curve, that they're doing something innovative and trend setting. But maybe their apprehension or their unfamiliarity with sciences kind of like prevent them from asking questions because they don't want to sound dumb, or they don't want to come off as appearing as more uninformed. But that's not, like, you can't. You have to just Google, just start your search somewhere and poke holes in it. So I want to let a little bit of this play again, because they asked again. So I'm gonna read this little statement here. With the Elizabeth Holmes convicted of fraud, with that verdict, what does that mean for biotech startups? And so for me, even though Heron Farms and Mr. Norton they're not technically in the biotech space, they are in the agricultural space, right? Or agriculture, food and bev, hospitality. They're in that space. But you can still assign some of this to them. Like, okay, so what does this verdict, this science, this STEM-related issue at Theranos, what does that tell us about tech and innovation culture here, especially when companies assert that they're solving a massive problem and creating more access or creating a solution, when you're not. You're actually exasperating an existing issue, right?
Does this change anything?
I'm going to be real with you. I don't think it does.
It is ridiculous.
I think about this in the context of the sort of SPAC craze that we saw recently, especially around electric vehicles. You have Lordstown Motors, which, the SEC is now looking into it because it possibly misled investors about pre-orders. And so if anything, I think that this sort of exuberance, on the part of investors, this interest in getting into the big thing without necessarily doing your due diligence has actually spread outward from Silicon Valley, and we're seeing it elsewhere now too.
Yep. And that's what really stuck with me when I heard this morning. I'm like, ooh, I got to play a little bit of that. During the live stream when we're talking about these solutions. So to pivot away from specifically one person and one organization, or rather one company, and kind of talk about that whole culture. I kind of want to. Well, no, we're gonna pivot into the larger issue and how other companies, publicly traded companies, have at least professed a set of values and have attempted to walk the walk. We're going to talk about that, like what Heron Farms could have done. Like, so you didn't have to try to solve sea level rise, or like, what did he say? He said he was going to turn sea level rise into food. What the fuck? Like, that was a big L. Dude, that ain't it. You need more people around you. Who the fuck on your advisory team, your advisory committee told you that sounded really good? Hey, let's sound like unabashed disaster capitalists. Yeah. You can't. And first of all, anyway, so we're going to talk about, just so many things that really make me upset about like what gets rubber stamped. And I'm telling you, I was out here hustling as a content creator. Hustling. I'm not saying that I had a great idea that was worth that much investment, but like, just even like some of the conversations I wanted to have just weren't it. I want to just play a little bit of this biotech, because we're in the biotech sphere, and Forbes just released their 30 under 30. I wanted to play this because I want to watch it with y'all. I did not watch this, but this is one of many of the. And this is gonna knock your socks off. This is gonna knock your socks off in terms of like the come on, the absurdity. Well, let me not say that. At least the first second, the 9 seconds that I did listen to, kind of just had red flags. I might be wrong. And she looks like a lovely young lady. So anyway, this entrepreneur is using biotech to modernize the $50 billion with a B market, $50 billion market for infant formula. Ooh, I gotta call my niece. Let's see what she's talking about.
No matter how I do it, and no matter like what population I'm doing it for, I've just always known that like my purpose is to feed people.
Shout out to the vocal fry. The dragging of syllables.
I'm Laura Katz. I'm the founder and CEO of Helena. I'm 29 years old and I'm a food scientist.
Okay.
At Helena, we're recreating all of breast milk's most valuable components, starting with the proteins found in breast milk, with the goal of bringing parity and health outcomes for formula-fed infants with our product. So we're helping bring immunity to formula using the protein technology that we have.
That's interesting.
I have been working in food since I was like 10. So when I was really, really little, I started catering and just bringing as much food to people as possible. And throughout my career, I've worked all throughout food, but really working as a food.
So what I hate about these like entrepreneurial things like this whole like, ever since I was a little girl, I was passionate about food. Like, I was passionate about food too. It was Hot Pockets and Tostinos, you know what I mean? And Nintendo cereal. I don't know about her, and I do have some feels about breast milk, and there are places where you need to supplement. You need to supplement homes with breast milk or nutritious alternatives to breast milk if breast milk is not available. But there's this bigger issue in terms of the West constantly severing the connection between the breastfeeding parent and the child. Like, breast milk is best. And we're growing up in a society. We're raising. I sound like an old lady, but we've definitely trained a whole society to just say no. Breastfeeding is too arduous. It's too much. Just go ahead and get the formula, sweetie. Oh, Margaret, we need you back to work. You can't pump at work, so you're gonna have to get that baby on formula, sweetie. Like, there's a whole thing about this that I'm like, hold up. Why aren't we working to get moms get parents with breasts who breastfeed? Why are we not working to get them healthy and make sure that they can create milk? And if they can't create it, okay, biotech steps in and maybe makes a synthetic alternative that mimics. It's like the Impossible Burger for boobs. I'm not trying to be gross. But like the Impossible Burger, how it's engineered to mimic meat, right? I haven't had one. I've had beef or meat alternative burgers, but I can't remember if I've had an Impossible Burger because I'm very like, nah, fuck it, serving my shit bloody, still mooing. I'm that girl. Seriously, like, flame kiss, that's it. A real burger. I'm just not there yet. But like the Impossible Burger, it bleeds, it smells, it looks, it appears like meat, even though it isn't, right? So I guess this is where biotech steps in and creates a breast milk that, I'm not saying it's the Impossible Boob, I'm not saying that, but it feels, and I'm not a mother. I want to be one maybe eventually, however that looks, but like, I want to know more about that part, like the milk production and the disparity and how big formula, as my niece has taught me. She's a lactation coach in Jersey City. Shout out Asia. Well, what my niece has taught me through her work is that, hey, no, women have to get more like comfortable with with that with that first step. Is economically more viable. Employers have to be more accommodating to people who pump. As a former manager who has made sure that people get their pump breaks and they have the right kind of accommodations. If it's like a space that's just limited, how it functions. The lag is crazy, Impossible Boob, but but no, I'm gonna let this play a little bit. But just breast milk is best. It is. But there are times where you can't do it. Either logistically, either like the baby doesn't latch, all kinds of real issues. But why are we training people to just go for the form? I'm not ashamed. My mom did not breastfeed me, as you can tell probably. Trudy was like, look, I learned I had twins 2 months before you were born. I got to get back to work. Okay. Take this formula. Like, Trudy was like, here you go. Fuck them kids. Like, no, but my mom was a hard worker. Like, so she was all about that formula. At least for the twins, at least for Terrence and Tamika. I don't know. I forgot to ask her let me stop asking about her boobs because she's going to kill me. All right. But what y'all say, Impossible Boobs? Breastfeeding just ain't about nutrition. Nicole, Nicole, that's why they got things where like parents who don't have breasts, it might sound campy or corny, but there are things on the market to help the parent without breast, or the parent that is not producing milk, not imitate, but simulate breastfeeding. It's not just about that. And I don't even want to take away from that. I think she probably has a really good idea. I didn't really want to demonize it, but that's the thing. Like, you get all this glossy attention. This is probably a very expensive photo shoot. She's beautiful. She's probably very brilliant, right? But like, the things that we promote, we really are so caught up on this young entrepreneur. The whole 30 under 30 is bullshit. Shout out to y'all, and I'm not shitting on y'all who are 40 under 40s and stuff like that here in Charleston, but y'all do know there's a part of it is marketing, right? And that sometimes you pay for this. You pay to be on these lists, right? Like, it's not a secret. You pay to be on these lists, right? So that's just some things that came up in the first 10 seconds of hearing what her startup was supposed to do.
Scientist over the past 5-6 years to develop all kinds of different food products. And so for me, being able to bridge that gap between women's health and food science was such an important opportunity.
Yeah, I'm gonna run up into a little bit of
I teach food science
paradox
at NYU.
in a second with that biotech.
I started when I was 24. A lot of the students I've taught have been older than me. And
I stopped it when she kept saying, like, ever since I was little, I was so into feeding people. I would run up to my mom and put Cheerios in her mouth when I was 3. I'm obsessed. All right, I'm being shady. But that's not like, the whole like origin story got me. All right, let me play it again.
It was such an important opportunity.
She started when she was 24?
I teach food science at NYU. I've been teaching there.
Oh, that's cool.
I started when I was 24. A lot of the students I've taught have been older than me, and so it's been a process of figuring it out, but I knew that, I had the ability to take that energy and be able to kind of insert it into how we can use it to advance women's health and infant nutrition.
Women's health and infant nutrition.
We're building a global brand, and so I want to change what nutrition.
So what you also hear with this too is you hear it coming. A global brand, what does that mean? And she said parity earlier. So what does that mean? That means that this is going to be scaled to pop up in countries, brown countries besieged by famine, climate change. And so here we go. You already hear it, right? Like this whole like almost like philanthropic-esque endeavor to save these brown people. When to save them is to repair their homes, is to repair their environment, to repair where they live so they can stay where they live, that they can draw upon traditions or customs or norms that are native to them, native to who they are, and so important to who they are. So right there, that's another red flag. But these are the businesses. The reason why I'm showing this in this larger conversation about tech culture and innovation here in Charleston and whether or not some sustainability startups are greenwashed, the reason why I'm talking about it is because this is the type of attention and this type of praise and the treatment that these ideas get with a lot less scrutiny. And I think that's worth talking.
Looks like, not just for infants, but for
Gwyneth Paltrow, good.
all different kinds of population, and just change how people think about what they eat that is something more functional and provides immunity to them.
So she's solving famine, she's helping people be immune to diseases with her. So B-Man, so you're saying the biotech scares you. It does, right? Especially after Theranos too, right? So biotech scares the shit out of me, you said. The new laws around labeling bioengineered food. So, has tons of cracks. So, right? So again, let me take it back. Let me take it back to nothing that's so we take it back to this, right? So my friend Aaron gifted me this. This is the equity issue. This is basically a biology magazine. If you were here, you would hold it and you feel like it's like thick paper. It feels like homemade, but of course it wasn't. It doesn't have a binding here, which I think is intentional. It looks raw and rugged on the edge, right? And this is the Grow magazine their equity issue is at the bottom, as you can probably see that. Yeah, equity issue. And this is, so when I got it, I'm like, I never heard of this magazine, so let me look into it. Right underneath the grow, it says by Ginkgo Bioworks. I'm like, okay, what's that? Right, and we're gonna get into that to Tom's point, all right, to make Tom even more leery. But I will say this: so Ginkgo, Ginkgo Bioworks is behind this publication. They are a biotech firm. I want to read this. I think that this was interesting because we have to wait and watch. And like to Tom's point, we have to wait and see whether or not these loopholes. Are they going to exploit these loopholes? But this is what this is. So they wrote a letter to their community because they went public. They were very forward about, hey, we went public. Hey, we publicly traded. Hey, we're on a New York Stock Exchange. And so they kept communicating throughout this magazine about that change and about their values moving forward. And so I want to read a little bit at the top. It says this year's issue is about equity in biology. In the past year, we've seen steep costs of long-term inequity in the field, vastly disparate health outcomes for communities of color in the country, widespread suspicions of the way science is created. This raises questions, right? And to your Tom, this raises questions for us as a biology magazine. How has our field contributed to societal inequities? How could biology contribute to a fairer world in the future? And will synthetic biology, this new frontier in human-driven evolution, be a part of the solution or simply a tool to maintain the status quo? All right, so they beg these questions, right? And then it goes down and it says, thinking of equity's two definitions, fairness and justice on one side, right? All right, shares in a corporation on the other. So thinking about equity in two, for like owning stake in a company versus fairness and justice, right? So thinking about them in two ways. Corporate equity is distributed among a small minority. So it's on its way. So in its own way, it's scientific decision-making power, right? All right. So they said this magazine hopes, right, to enable a conversation about both how they apply synthetic biology and what this means for all of us. And then there was a part. All right, this issue deals with the duality of equity, those two definitions. This issue deals with the duality of equity, the relationship between justice and ownership. All right, so they're basically just saying, look, we publicly traded. We in biotech. This is uncharted territory. This is essentially the Wild Wild West. But these are our values. This is what we're paying attention to. We're paying attention to race issues, social justice issues, parity, STEM, solving inequity. Right? They're saying that in this entire issue. Will they be able to do that and remain viable, economically viable in this kind of world that we live in? That's yet to be seen. Right? So the organization, because I'm gonna be transparent with y'all, if I'm gonna talk about Heron Farms, I'm definitely gonna talk about where I'm drawing some of my research from, right? And then we're gonna bring it back to Charleston. So this is the talk about PR push. So since they went public, they've been very active. Been very active in telling the world who they are. So how BioWorks, this is the startup, how BioWorks startup is trying to reprogram the world, and that's kind of scary as fuck.
A couple of years ago,
but listen to the beginning.
To a totally normal party. It was put on by the well-muscled brain explorer, Brian Johnson. He held the event at this house in Venice, California. Billionaire Patrick Collison was there.
Oh shit, Nicole.
And so was his smile. The guests all got together, donned Bluetooth headphones, and listened to music written by an AI and performed by American Idol contestant Taryn Southern. Oh, and you could also take a whiff of an extinct Hawaiian plant, because some people who play with DNA had found a way to bring its smell back to life.
Scary.
The folks who did the DNA manipulation work at Ginkgo Bioworks.
Okay.
The company is perhaps the world leader in the field of synthetic biology. Earlier this year, Ginkgo raised a staggering $2.5 billion.
So that leaves me so I again, when my friend gave it to me, this is brilliant. Like, this is really dope and inspirational. They've got all kinds of articles. I'm all making a mess. Like, they got one called Mother Nature, shareholder, how to build more equitable companies. Like, they just got all these different topics about equity and biology and biotech, right? But they really trying to reprogram the world. It's kind of scary.
On its way to being valued at $15 billion. To find out what $2.5 billion buys you these days, I went to Ginkgo's headquarters in Boston, Massachusetts. For it is here.
Oh, thank y'all for sharing so much.
Or make that here.
You know
that the company is building out a DNA superhighway.
Prestige worldwide. No. So I don't even want. Okay, let me see. They gonna talk to the. This is like.
Ginkgo was founded back in 2009 by several big brains from MIT.
This is like so. I'm a layman in this world, right? So like when I hear biotech, when I hear about all these different like how these food products, right? Shit, take it back to fucking American cheese. I hate American cheese. I'll eat it if it's melted on something, maybe. But like, I don't like, but if you look at the back of American cheese, of course it's American cheese. If you look at the back of the packaging for like Kraft singles, you'll see cheese food product, right? So like, and we know Country Crock ain't butter, right? Can't believe it's not butter. All these, we are somewhat familiar with like alternatives to traditional. Now some of those things are they naturally derived? No, margarine is not naturally derived, right? What is margarine? Is it oil or is it something else? But anyway, my point is like, we've all kind of like seen this evolution in like these food alternatives showing up, like, nuts turned into cheese and, oats turned into milk. We've seen that. But now this frontier is really scary because you're creating this food in a lab and...
including its CEO, Jason Kelly.
Are we replacing? Have we thrown in the towel?
The founders wanted to develop ways to treat DNA more or less like software code. You find an organism with an interesting property, snip out the DNA behind that property, and then shove the DNA fragment into something else.
And I think that's what the young lady with the breast milk is doing. You heard her say she's taking the proteins that are found in breast milk and creating it in a lab, essentially, right? Impossible Boob. And creating it a synthetic version of it that's supposed to just, be the replacement. The question I'm begging of course, the technology and who's going to regulate this. Who going to regulate me, boo? Who going to regulate you, boo? That's one part. But the other part of it is too, is this greenwash? Like, so is the magazine that they release, is this greenwashing? Is this thoughtful race analysis in STEM? Is this greenwashing? Are they about to be like the Facebook or the Meta of like biotech and engineering thing? I want to get to the burger part because I'm a snob. I'm a fucking snob. I swear to God, ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. But let's skip here to the burger. Let's see if I get it
Only
right.
no cow was involved.
Oh wait.
Motif team.
Let's go back a little bit.
Digital code that we can, as humans, read and write.
Okay, listen.
Ginkgo does go after some weird stuff.
Jason,
this dog, for example, used to be a teacup poodle just last week. And clearly people here really do dream of doing things like resurrecting the dinosaurs.
See, Jurassic Park. That's exactly what I think of.
But as with any new technology, I wanted to know how synthetic biology would benefit me. Like right now.
Yeah, right now.
And so I took what we'll call the Blood Elevator Express, a couple floors down to another startup, Motif Foodworks.
Okay.
Motif is sort of a research and development company for food.
Looking at this.
It uses synthetic biology to make food taste better.
This made me scared.
Today, I'm here to eat a burger.
This scared me.
Only no cow was involved. Motif teamed with Ginkgo to take the DNA code for hemoglobin plop it into a yeast,
blood,
and then grow what amounts to a vat of faux blood.
Oh my God.
This fella here is adding the blood to some soy, throwing in some seasonings.
It's not meat though.
And then, voila.
Thank you so much.
I hate when tomatoes that
Well, should we
thick.
try it while it's still hot?
Absolutely, that's the best way.
Okay.
Of course, it's the best way. Where the cheese at? Oh,
Good. It's burgery for sure.
It's
And it has that,
burgery.
like the, I mean, on the char and all that. You
The
get
char,
yeah.
the bite quality is much better. I would say that old generations of plant-based meat,
it would fall apart.
The first bite, you might get this crust on the outside, like you see here.
Yeah.
But the second bite would be more mushy. The inside would not have texture. So look at all the effort. I mean, that pretty much looks like what you might see in a burger.
look dry.
Notice all the pieces, the way it crumbles.
Hemoglobin. Just put some H2O in that bitch.
Umami kind of
Well,
note on
our
there.
ingredient we call hemami, and it's essentially the molecule in the muscle of a cow that makes beef red. It makes it give you that beautiful, serumy, bloody flavor. It catalyzes a whole bunch of the chemistry in there, and that is an amazing.
I swear to God, we living in the Disney movie WALL-E. We just gonna be. we ain't gonna be walking. We ain't gonna be moving. Like that look like you took grape nuts. Thank you, Mexi. Wait, thank you. Yeah, Mexi. It's like you took blood seasoning. We are. It's WALL-E. It really is. It's like, this look like grape nuts and you pour like gravy mix on it. It looks like, and then mashed it. It just, that's the thing, like, and I know I ain't trying to I'm not calling vegans hypocrites, and then like people love like dunking on vegans. I like dunking on the performative vegans that are not aware how ableist their veganism is, or how their veganism is really just disordered eating in disguise. But like, I'm not dunking on vegans for that. It's just like, but that one little stupid criticism that always pops up of vegans by meat eaters, carnivores, is somewhere where I kind of like, why y'all want to try to mimic meat? Like, you don't eat meat for ethical reasons. Why you always trying to make stuff smell like bacon and stuff? Like, I do be like, just make the vegetables taste good. Just make the Brussels sprouts taste delicious. Just make them savory. Like, we've got mad herbs and spices out here in the world that ain't got nothing to do with you know, animals or insects. Just make the Brussels sprouts taste like the most fire Brussels sprout. I don't want to eat fake burger. I don't. And you shouldn't be able to call it a burger. You have to call it whatever. What they used to call it, chicken nuggets, like Morningstar products. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Umami is Japanese word for savory. Same side, thank you. It just don't. Hemoglobin, blood seasoning. Jeez. All right, I'm gonna pop out. So this is so Motif is not the publisher of this magazine, but you saw that Motif was the food company that's creating all this synthetic food. They took the data, they took some of the technology from Ginkgo Bioworks, right? And Bioworks published this magazine. So like, Kia, you say complete greenwashing. I do think it's it feels a little it doesn't mean that like what's espoused here, it doesn't mean that the editors of this publication are without integrity, but I think the publication exists to do that thing because this frightens people, because this type of science is underregulated, because we're seeing things like Elizabeth Holmes in this space, right? I do think people are trying to be proactive with their image of their company. Especially if you're publicly traded, like, you know, when you just go public, you know, it's you gotta do some things. You know, you gotta be some things to a lot of people. You gotta communicate certain things, and you've gotta keep people at bay, so to speak. But that again doesn't take away from y'all really got caught up on their IG too. Yeah. I don't know nobody who use sea beans in the cock. Anybody make? I'm gonna ask. Is this? Let me see who this is. Sea bean teeny. Oh my God. I think that's what's most offensive about Heron Farms' marketing is that it's basic as fuck. Like it's basic. I think that's offensive. And this is Mr. Norton, by the way. All right. So yeah, I got a lot of praise for being 30 under 30. But just like growing them sea beans indoors, I'm sure it took a lot of work. I'm sure it took a lot of work. Shout out to all my friends who are friends with him. Shout out to all my friends who have sold him oysters. Shout out to all my friends who love him. No shade. I'm just here to complicate things. That's it. I'm Don Cheadle as Captain Planet. I wanted to go to a tweet. I wanted to go to a tweet about that I liked regarding the publication, and then I'll leave the publication and go back to Charleston. Oh God, I had to go. The reason why I wasn't on yesterday, I had to go to traffic court. Yo, I wish Allie was still on. I wish somebody. I know some of y'all don't want to. Every time I see y'all, I say y'all here, and some of y'all like to stay anonymous. So I feel you. But I really wish that this stupid thing I had to go through yesterday in Mount Pleasant. I basically got to pay $300 and go to custom. Well, I got to go $300 community service and 4 hours of classroom learning just to like get my ticket like reduced to no points. Get the fuck out of here. Like it's crazy. Anyway, that's where I was at yesterday. But I wanted to go to the. Did I retweet it? Yeah, I must have retweeted or something. Let me see. No likes. I ain't retweeted. Shout out to my Knicks last night. Stayed up till 1 o'clock watching Knicks recap videos. It's crazy. All right, I'm getting to it. It's up here. Gotta be. Sorry, y'all. I did this earlier too. The fuck? I must have was watching it very early. Damn, I was up late. Yeah, here we go. There we go. All right, so this is a tweet. Sorry for that. Sorry for that lag, y'all. So this is just a tweet from a random person who also had their hands on the grow mag. The pictures she took were amazing, breathtaking. So yeah, she got the equity issue. This was a response. It says, "This is a biology magazine? ? Exclamation mark. I can't stop geeking over the latest Ginkgo, Grow by Ginkgo issue. Audacious design, insightful content. All right. And you're crushing the whole, the medium is the message, SciComm game. Okay. So yeah, it was a very favorable response, and she linked it here. And I too, I'm enthralled. Look, they follow me. I'm enthralled. It's very, very, very cool design. Very cool design, all that other stuff. But I think it's a little bit like of offense. It's like defense that's offense. Offense that's defense. Joy, you dropped in the chat. Oh my, you went down the breast milk rabbit hole. Proteins in breast milk are the same as in cow milk, but they're in different levels. Proteins are curds and caseins. Whey. Yeah. Look at you. You sound like you about to be like an investor in that. And you about to be an investor? You gonna go over the old girls breast milk startup? All right, let's bring it back to Charleston. I'm joking. Goop me up. Yeah. Nah, it's so funny. I'm gonna crash a wedding and say that I own a sea bean conglomerate. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be wedding crash instead of maple syrup conglomerate. I'm gonna be sea bean conglomerate. Yeah, I just wanted to show the marketing that goes into 30 under 30. And that like how obsessed we are with young tech entrepreneurs. I feel like there's a lot of we want to watch you crash and burn going on too, especially with the women, and women in that space. All right, so I wanted to get back to some other things that I found in preparation for today's live stream. Looking at the time, I got you. But we're gonna finish when we finish. So 30 under 30, I'm challenging the way we just accept certain values or accept certain assertions at face value without a rigorous or without even a modicum of scrutiny. I'm looking at the press. I'm looking at the local press. I'm happy. I'm sincerely happy for this dude. Like if this come up makes him happy on a very basic level, do your thing, right? But you don't get to do all this publicly and get all this praise without somebody questioning that. And that's just the role I play as a gadfly in Charleston. So I'm not vilifying. I'm not telling you when you go to the obstinate daughter, I'm not saying don't go there. Don't order this sea bean. I ain't saying that. Eat if you love them, that's good for you, right? Right? Whatever does it for you, do it, right? I'm not telling you to boycott shit. I'm not telling you to run up on no boy. I'm just making you more conscientious consumer of information and of goods, products, and services here in Charleston, right? So I kind of want to make, again, broaden the conversation to like this whole culture of like things that are proposed to solve sea level rise or help mitigate without me going to the city plan, without me going back into FOGC stuff. Y'all know where to go find that information. I kind of want to just jump into another thing. Now, I was reading from some friends on the phone. There's some other conversations that I don't have notes from, but that we've had these conversations about, okay, a lot of what Charleston is doing, a lot of what Joshua mentions here, like a lot of the tactics or the tools being employed by the city, at least in this the earlier publicized plans, right? I believe they have modified the plans. They've made modifications, I believe, right? They've kind of listened to some of the criticism and critique. But what Josh said here, it'll always be. It'd be like evergreen statement. It'll always be relevant because there is a tendency here in Charleston to just perform environmental consciousness, to perform a thoughtful innovation around solving these problems while using things like diesel pumps to help combat sea level rise. The other thing that came up in conversation with my homies was this. So while Charleston is lifting up faux sustainability and a lot of like fugazi ads, let's keep it real, a lot of fugazi and surfacey and paper thin solutions, my friend was like, yo, you better watch this. And I didn't know what she was talking about. This was like around a fire, Christmas Eve dinner. I'm on Daniel Island with friends. Shout out. And she just drops this on my lap and we don't even really talk too deep into it. But then I find this is from Yale's Climate Connection. Shout out, Yale got a lot of like climate change articles that I really rely heavily upon over the years. So this is written back in 2020, December 2020, as sea levels rise, water creeps up beneath people's feet. So even with going back to Heron Farms for a second, dude said he wanted to turn sea level rise into food. Bruh, what sea level rise you talking about, right? So when you say something, when you have such an audacious claim, and nobody's reining you in, no one's saying, you know what, modify that. Because even me, y'all know I am good with the slogans. I don't want nobody to begrudge me. I don't want to make eye contact. Y'all know I'm good with the slogans. I'm good with the headlines. I'm quick on my feet. I could have, if he would have ran there by someone like me, I'm like, take this out. Take this, we're going to turn sea level rise into food. Like that's just that. Not only is that very you won't be able to do that. Not only is that like just not something you can deliver, but also it ignores the fact that you just sound like a disaster capitalist, right? You're just coming in here to enlarge your riches. And so like I think somebody should have pushed back on that. And so why am I bringing that up here? Because also what's so ludicrous about that phrase now, after I followed up with some little bit of research, is that sea level rise ain't just what's coming over that motherfucking battery wall. Sea level rise is not just what we, sea level rise is what we see on sunny days. Not just the king tide stuff either, sunny days. Stuff coming up from the concrete, right? And so here we go. This from last year. Let's play this. It's really short, but let's listen.
I'm Dr. Anthony Lazarowitz, and this is Climate Connections.
Because I don't want to eat. I don't want this to be food. I don't want the sea level that's coming from the earth. I don't want to eat that.
As the climate warms, coastal waters are rising, not only along the shore, but beneath people's feet.
The storms and the waves and sea level rise are going to affect the surface water first, and the groundwater is going to follow.
That's Kevin Beefus, assistant professor in the Department of Geosciences at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. He studies the impact of sea level rise on groundwater, the water that's stored beneath the Earth's surface. Beefus says that as seas rise, more salt water seeps inland. That creates pressure on existing groundwater and pushes it upward.
So why does this matter to me? This matters because, I'm building my dream home, claiming it, right, Twix? Get it together, right, Twix? Right, Twix, get it together, start packing. I will be living on Wamala. That's where I want to live. That's where I will live. I will be building my dream home on Wamala. So growing up, like during high school, growing up on Wamala, also throughout my younger years, visiting my mom's side of the family over on the far, far eastern part of like near New Bern, North Carolina. All my cousins on my dad's side and my mama's side, all of them raised in the rural South had well water, right? Or had some, they had well water, right? Some of that might have changed on my mom's side of the family, I think. I'm not quite sure, but I know for a fact on Wamala, we're fighting to keep Wamala rural. Anyway, part of me planning to live on Wamala, to live on my family's land, part of that requires me to think about what it takes to live there. And if I'm going to live off well water, which is what I will be, hopefully, hopefully they won't be rezoned for the city or whatever. This impacts me directly. It's already impacted my dad at his church. They have this huge water tank behind their church. The church is pretty sizable on Wamala. And recently they had to change all of the plumbing, because however the well was dug, whatever, it's salt water coming up and it's eroding all the pipes. Now, I think what my father and the pastor and the community felt was like the dude dug the well wrong, which happens all the time, right? You got to dig it deeper. No, what I realized after having conversations with my friends in this space is that, no, that's sea level rise, boo. We so fixated on what's going over the wall. We so fixated on what's going on south of Broad. We so fixated on king tides. We so fixated on pictures of parents wading through hip high water on Upper King. We so fixated on those graphic images, but ain't nobody, how many people is doing what this dude is doing right here, which is like using the drone to actually talk about the storm water, how sea level is impacting the storm water, right? That's real. So everybody's gonna have to start redigging their wells. Will we have to go for city water eventually, because the city is ignoring a real solutions for climate change and sea level rise, right? So will we eventually have to fold into the city and become part of Charleston because the quality of water, our access to water is now questioned, or our access to water is now has been interrupted, right? Disrupted.
As it rises, that water can creep into subway tunnels and basements and damage underground electrical lines. And because it saturates the earth, it can worsen tidal and storm flooding. So Beefus says as coastal communities plan to address climate change, they need to think about more than surface flooding. They also need to think about the effects of sea level rise on groundwater.
These are hidden dangers of sea level rise that I think for the most part aren't on people's mind. And so the surface flooding is the primary concern, and it will be the most in our face. But this groundwater response is something that could happen behind us if we're always looking out to sea.
Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication.
That was really quick, but I thought that was really insightful, right? There are hidden dangers. These are the hidden dangers. I'm going to reiterate what he said at the end. These are the hidden dangers of sea level rise that I think for the most part, aren't on people's minds. He says, and so the surface flooding is the primary concern, and it will be the most in our face. But this groundwater response is something that could happen behind us if we're always looking out to sea. And I think, so why am I bringing this up in terms about this whole tech and innovation? Well, this is the other thing that, now this is just Mika, how Mika's mind works. I don't believe shit. Joy, you dropped the word cynical in the chat earlier. I don't believe shit. I don't know what. I'm cynical, skeptical. I don't know who harmed me. I don't know who hurt me. Charleston County Schools District. I don't know. I just don't take nothing at face value. I don't take anything. Right? My mom calls. Oh, my car broke down. Oh, okay. I think it just need antifreeze. Okay. Or, Trudy, what didn't you do? Like, like that, I'm just naturally like, and that's not really always comforting for a mother who's at Pearl Vision stranded, but like, But I always question like what, how, why, how. And what I get very bored with is in Charleston, no one else, like not enough people do that. I get bored very easily with, oh, that's nice. He's growing sea beans and it's going to solve all our problems. Oh, that's nice. He's going to turn sea level rise into food. Like I get so bored with just taking the information and not processing it, not thinking critically. Like I get very, very bored. And so why I'm bringing this up is that like we're not even asking the right questions, but we're so quick to reward some thought, some level of illuminate. I guess some level of thought. I'm trying not to quote bell hooks too much, but we reward like just an idea in its infancy. Like you get a participation trophy when you're not even as I guess this is why he's in the agricultural space and not in science and tech, because I could see why he didn't want to jam himself up too much, but he's relying on tech a lot and he's moving like a traditional tech startup, right? But that company is not is providing an answer to a question that we didn't even ask. We're not asking you to turn sea level rise into food, bro. We asking whether or not you can do something that's sustainable. Like, are you providing sustenance and you're growing it sustainably? That's not as sexy as, hey, I'm growing my shit indoors with all these purple lamps. That's not as sexy as that. But like, are you really solving a problem? Or are you just mentioning a problem and then saying, hey, it's like me saying, yo, it's a drought out in Charleston. There's not enough rain out in Charleston. And then like me coming up with another idea, like, so I'm creating a business where where you could take showers. I don't know. It just seemed like it's not even the solution. It's just there's a drought in Charleston. So let me I don't know. That's a really fucked up one. I usually am better at that. I just said I was good at this shit and I'm not. But you get what I'm saying? Like it's like he's providing a service that no one asked for and a service that doesn't actually doesn't solve a problem. And I'm not saying that he has to create businesses that solve a problem. I just want us to be conditioned to when someone says, hey, makes a claim that I'm sustainable, I'm doing all these things, to challenge it and to question it and not just take it on face value because we think the dude is wavy. Like it just can't be that. And men get away with this shit all the time. I want to say something so bad, but when the divorce is finally over and when I'm healed from the divorce, I can talk about it. Dudes do this all the time. Some of y'all don't know me, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Dudes get away with murder with this shit. They could just mention something. Oh my God, he's less trash than an average man, so he got to be brilliant. No, he just mentioned it, right? So when we talk about groundwater and sea level rise, we got to think about this, right? This happened like a week after I left New York.
We've seen the scene before during storms, water pouring into subway stations in New York City. But what happened yesterday at the 157th Street subway station
this, right?
was alarming to see even for seasoned commuters. Look at this mess. People wading through waist-deep water. So could this have been prevented? Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles with the story.
I don't know what homie with the bag was doing.
In your experience, have you seen?
I don't know what homie with the bag was doing with the trash bag. Like you saw, mommy got down there. Mommy was all like up to her neck in that water. And it's not funny what these people had to go through. Like, and people kept saying, why are they going down there? Because they got to get home. And they don't know how to get home. Right? Like any other way that's financially like, you know what I mean? And like, it's sad that people have to do that. People have to actually experience that. And have to try to come up with some solutions like trash bags and stuff like that just to get home. It's crazy. But also it underscores how grave the issue is and how we can't just look at Miami. We can't just look at the fires in California, sinking cities like Miami. We can't just look at I know New York is coastal, but you just can't look at it in the traditional ways of, oh, look at that flooded street in the middle of Biscayne Bay or whatever. No, look at your literal infrastructure is crumbling around you as you choose not to respond to sea level rise, right? Waist deep in wastewater, exactly. And but also too, like we learn, like I've learned since being down here, living in a coastal city. Charleston is technically below sea level. We've seen it. I've seen it since high school. Like, you know how this area floods and stuff like that. But like seeing how it's accelerated in like the last 20 years has really left me gobsmacked And even back then when I was in high school, people were talking about this 20 years ago. Like, I was conscious enough to remember that people were concerned about, the climate and maybe not the temperatures, but they definitely back then were concerned about the water. And just seeing what happened in New York in this package here, this piece, you also see like the water don't have nowhere to go because of sea level rise, right? Like the water it's going to build up somewhere. It's going to have to be let out. So even if it's after a storm, when have we ever seen after a storm the subways look like that? We've seen that more in recent years. Maybe it has happened in the 80s. I don't know, but we've never seen that, and that is a byproduct of a larger issue. And it's just it's crazy to see.
Seen flooding to that extent before, waist deep water?
Waist deep is unusual.
Yes, K-Bell. Look at that.
In this case, strap hangers at the 157th Street station in Washington Heights should have followed the same advice given to drivers. Turn around, don't drown.
That's what people are putting on waiters. They should have closed the stations.
The Thursday afternoon deluge battered many of New York City's
people could
subway
get
stations.
hurt, but
unfortunately, just as ridership is beginning to increase, 3-inch-per-hour rains overwhelmed the subway pumps, filling up some stations like jugs of water.
I wouldn't take subway flooding out of context of the fact that we were hit with an enormous storm.
Civil engineer Robert Passwell says the MTA should continue to make moderate improvements, like raising the grates, installing more flood doors, and increasing the capacity of pumping. But that's it.
Would it be worth
he don't sound like
the millions of dollars?
He don't sound like a courageous and innovator. He just said more pumps, like alleviation versus mitigation, right?
Infrastructure improvements to deal with these rare flooding events?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because the cost of repair would be much less than the cost of investment, and the subway needs so much other investment.
And in worst case scenarios like yesterday, the MTA should simply close the stations quickly until the water recedes.
Yeah, okay, do that, and then how people gonna get home? Right? What we doing? We doing what we did 9/11? Like for the people, like for the bridge and tunnel crowd coming from Jersey and shit, like what in Connecticut, like what Jersey? Like we gonna ferry them across the Hudson River? Like that's crazy. It's more than just close the subway chain. So, anyway, but I wanted to showcase that, or just like use more recent examples of like how that the sea level rise, like so what we should be looking for real. I really do think that we should be looking for real, like innovators that are coming and that are saying something different than what we've been, like saying something a little bit different than what the city's been saying, like really like illuminating a issue, not fear mongering, but illuminating issues or another aspect of sea level rise that we haven't really paid particular attention to. I really do think that we should be seeking out more companies and rewarding more companies doing that than we are just so quick to just foist, these distinctions onto. Dude ain't even, like, you ain't even clear the bar of sustainability. You ain't even, your whole shtick, your whole thing is I'm sustainable as fuck. I'm out here killing it. And you not even sustainable. Like, I don't even understand how nobody say nothing. I don't understand, like, what rooms are they in? Like, I would love to be just not challenged. I'd love to be in a room and just, like, say water's wet and get, like, a round of applause. All right, so this is another piece I found. I shared. This is from May of 2020. Yale again, another Yale resources, and they were just talking about again the early plans for the seawall and this first iterations, the things that were released from the city and those other organizations that were helping the city craft their not just the city plan but their response to like fortifying the wall on the Battery, right? So Fortress Charleston, will walling off the city hold back the waters? When your question already been answered, no, because not only are we not, and let me just talk about, let me say the other thing that I think some of my friends brought up too. The sea level wall is also frustrating as the main solution or the main response from the city is, we're gonna build a wall, right? What's also limiting about that is that like it legitimately the earlier iterations would not protect the most vulnerable areas, right? And you look at how the hotels and these newer buildings are in condos and whatnot, how they're being built. They're being elevated first, like the Publix over there in Back to Green. They're being elevated first. So if there is a rain event, if there is some sort of weather event, all that water just pulls down to, pulls down and creates like that bowl effect that we saw, unfortunately, that we saw like around Hurricane Katrina when the levees broke, right? So the wall had limitations in terms of like, who's it really protecting? Is it just protecting the highfalutin Rainbow Rows of the world? The houses on the Battery, the millionaire interest and the millionaire interest of developers and also homeowners. Is it just doing that? That was the one thing, like people's like, a wall ain't gonna do shit. So like it ain't gonna do enough, right? And then the other criticism, like, oh, y'all using pumps? Y'all using gas pumps? That's gonna be real crazy when that water get in there. Like, what you gonna do with it? So that was another problem, right? And then the cost was an issue there, right? But now too, again, now y'all are now thinking about, and you probably already have. I probably was the late one to the party. Now you're thinking about the groundwater that's coming up. You think about we talk about sunny day flooding all the time, and not the ones associated with like high tides and king tides, just rainy day flooding. So now, how that wall sound to y'all now? Like, seriously, we cannot like fortify ourselves against this thing. We have to actually create. We have to do things. Corporations have to do things. Our military has to do things. Our federal government has to do things in order to help each state respond to the climate change, or help each community, right? So Yo just wrote this piece like, will walling up the city hold back the waters? And then the subtext here: officials in Charleston, South Carolina, have endorsed a $2 billion plan to wall off the historic downtown, right? Because that's what it is, just the peninsula, historic downtown. Because this is the other part. It ain't just downtown flooding, y'all. West Ashley is flooding. Where you building all these new houses over here, on corner of Main and 17, that's flooding, right? Like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not just on the peninsula, right? All right, so they just endorsed a $2 billion plan to wall off the historic downtown from rising seas and surging storms, right? It is the latest in a growing number of extravagantly expensive seawalls and barriers being proposed to defend the United States coastal cities. So we've talked about this too, around the whole green infrastructure versus gray infrastructure. I invited you to go listen to my interview with my girl, Tyler Shankner. I always say her name wrong, her last name wrong, but Taylor Taylor S. Shankner, I think I said it right. She joined me on Mic'd Up. She talked about that and her experience in this work, right? So we've talked about that a lot. I pointed you to the water podcast that I did with the policy link too, right? So you heard from some voices talking about like what solutions need to look like. But this article was really helpful too. It just talks about the whole history part, showcasing antebellum mansions, What those visitors don't see is Charleston is drowning in slow motion. It will soon face an existential threat to its survival from rising seas and bigger, more powerful storms. This, even as development continues nearly unchecked. Let's say it again. Did Dave Infante write this? No, that's...
Now listen!
That's called motherfucking bars. Okay, so what those visitors... So they talked about for millions of visitors each year in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a reminder of the bygone era, showcasing antebellum mansions, arty row houses, historic African-American churches, and sprawling views of the harbor from a Civil War era promenade. What those visitors don't see is Charleston is drowning in slow motion and soon will face an existential threat to its survival from rising seas, right? And bigger, more powerful storms. This even as development goes nearly unchecked. The city is limed. Oh, excuse me. What is it? Limed? I don't know this word. Ooh. What is that? By its harbor. Limed. How you Google? Who this word? I love how Google couldn't pronounce it for you. No. Yeah. Oh, limb. Okay. Limb. Did y'all hear that? I got you in the chat. Okay. Limbed. Okay. So the city is limbed by its harbor and 3 rivers, right? It leaks at every bend and curve, filling the streets. Wow, this really was good. I remember I posted a little bit of this because they talk about the pumps in here too. They talk about the pumps in here and the Army Corps of Engineers and their shenanigans. They talk about it here. So it's just really dope to see other places, other institutions really talk about our approach. It talks about the Dutch dialogues. D, you dropped something in the chat I want to read. It says, we've created a false sense of immobility because of preserving history, right? By not distributing historical buildings, by not disturbing historical buildings. And meanwhile, they will disappear when they are flooded. Yeah, Amsterdam doesn't get stopped by that shit. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Joy, you says water will get to the ocean. What is it? Water will get to the ocean no matter what, for sure. Right. That's what it does. I always said that too when I did the tours back to Green. I'm like, water goes back home. Water's just coming back home, right? Because we know most of that, like the places that are most immediately threatened by sea level rise and that are like where you see that quote unquote nuisance flooding that's more than a nuisance. It literally stops kids from going to schools. It prevents healthcare workers from getting to work. So, but I'm going to call it nuisance flooding for the sake of this conversation. So, like the places that you see the most nuisance flooding pop up is where the landfill was dumped. So like it's just a crisis on top of crisis. Like it's the stuff that we're not necessarily. It's climate change, the climate crisis, sea level rise. It's also Charleston has always operated and moved fugazi, to exhaust that term, right? They've always try to just enlarge their riches, more profit, more trafficking of enslaved Africans, more, we need to create more real estate so we can increase taxation and we can have a larger tax base. So we're going to dump in black people's backyard and fill up their backyard with fill. It's just more. We want to have more tourists come in so we can get more money. So that means we need more hotels to house all the people that we plan. Like you see it happening. That's what the response looks like. Yeah. Nicole, you said there were sea beans too. Wait, what are you talking about? You lying? Wait, were there sea beans in the cracks? You lying? But you know what? No, because Cyrus, my homeboy Cyrus with Seaborn, and I want to say this too. My friend and I were talking about okay, so. We understand that Heron Farms probably had to pivot, right? Had to pivot. But there are people out here on a smaller scale. Like my friend Cyrus. He's so highfalutin. Like my friend Cyrus, and I'm bringing this up because Cyrus taught me about the how to identify where saltwater has been in an urban place. Like Cyrus helped me identify, saltwater, when it flooded, saltwater came up here. So you can do that by looking at like sea oxide, wherever that's that flower right here. This is his Instagram. So like wherever you see sea oxide, especially when it's in bloom, you see that, I think in the spring, wherever you see that plant, that's where saltwater was. And so if a sea bean did grow out of a crack, I wouldn't be surprised. But also I wanted to bring up Cyrus because Cyrus is, again, within our friendship circles, he's one of the people kind of doing it sustainably, right? Because there is a line that you're going to have to walk. Like in capitalism, we get it. People walk certain lines all the time. But I would encourage y'all to go visit Cyrus's page. It's seaborn.us, right? Seaborn Oysters. Right? And just kind of like dig into Cyrus's mind. Cyrus is the one that brought me into this fight directly. And so Cyrus is someone who is immensely brilliant and bright about this subject, is passionate about this subject, is actually working as an oysterman. You see this post right here about y'all know how hot it was over here. This was in November. This is the first day of Meekmas. But it talked about the water temperatures, right? And it finally dropping in November. Here, so he has a sustainability lens that I think and I've observed that he stays true to. Of course, there probably are times where you have to compromise. That's the world we live in. But some people are willing to make some people resist compromise, a certain type of compromise. And I feel like Cypress has resisted some of the compromises that I think Heron Farms just decided to make. Right? I think that if you want to read all the reporting about oyster culture here, it's a rough and tough game. Harvesting oysters in this area, all that it's rough, sharp elbows, right? But I do believe that Cyrus has been successful, and I might be wrong, but from what I glean, he has been successful at trying not to compromise in those ways that where I think some other. And I'm not pitting Cyrus against Heron Farms. I'm sure some of these people all hang out together. For real. I don't, whatever, right? But I'm just saying that some people do and some people don't. Period. Yeah. At the creek tour, you saw it. I didn't see. I don't look at you. I feel horrible. I didn't see it. I saw plans coming up, but I just didn't identify. I'm always looking for Charleston or Mary. I'm always looking for Cyrus or Mary to help me. Yeah. So again, I'm not trying to beat up on old boy. I hope that I really do hope people don't like. That's not what I'm doing. But if you out here saying that it's sustainable, and the first thing you learn about your company is that it's mad unsustainable. I got questions. And so I wanted to just talk about that. I wanted to talk about the bro culture or the Silicon Harbor culture. It's just marketing. It's not really real. I fell for it. I don't mind saying that. I want to just talk about those things. I think there's anything else worth talking about this. No. I tried to find that clip from Miss Congeniality because, she's Miss New Jersey, where she talks about New Jersey's gnarly petrochemical refineries. I wanted to talk about that. Nah. But I think I'm gonna leave it there. Tomorrow, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you feel. depending on how you feel. If it's unfortunate, tomorrow we're gonna do a recap. Let me go back to this. Trying to make sure I covered all my bases. I should have pulled up my newsletter. Try to think. Yeah, we did. We covered it. It's a lot. Oh, this is what I want to do. Hold on real quick. This is what I had to, this is the dismount. I'm about to say peace. I see some of y'all dropping off. All right. So the dismount is this. Mika, you said a lot, but what are you doing? Well, I'll be out in them streets this weekend doing my job, and doing what I do as an organizer in the environmental justice space. So people can say that, but I also want to say that there are people like I said, this publication I still think is worth a read. If it's at a library, I don't know if it's at a library. I think if you can order it, whatever, I still think it's worth it. If you're passionate about biology and equity, I think just from and if you love design, I didn't even I buried the lead is super artsy fartsy, a technical term, Nicole. So I still think, but I think more the reason why I just looked that up as I pivoted to tell you where some other resources are, is because I think it's worth the reading. I think that what's espoused here, or what's outlined here, at least what they're attempting to achieve, is 1,000 light years ahead of where we are here in Charleston. So whether or not this is greenwashing, that's yet to be seen definitively, right? But what we do know, that this biotech company produced a volume of work that is noteworthy and that to me inspires me. And this is my wheelhouse now. Is art, is information that feels like art. That's my thing now. Environmental advocacy, that's more like a coffee table book. That's my thing. So I wanted to say that was important to read there. And again, what I read parts of is that whole thing between justice and equity, right? Like justice and I really think that is noteworthy. The other thing I want to say is that there are organizations that move with a certain lens and focus. While I have very complicated feelings about the movement for Black Lives, and how it navigates the funder complex, progressive dark money and all that other bullshit, right? While I have my criticisms and my skepticism about the movement for Black Lives and how it's been largely co-opted by funders, from Gate, to be honest, I do think they still support and subsidize very important works like the red, black, and green New Deal. Now, if you're not black, you're not familiar with the liberation flag. The Black Liberation Flag is basically like our black people's flag, right? So it's red, black, and green. So like I've got pictures of me with the flag. I used to fly the flag all the time. I used to have the flag hanging up in like apartments and shit. Anyway, so there is a group that started and they were organizing around the red, black, and green New Deal, a national black climate mandate. And I may have brought this up when I was talking about the Water Equity podcast, but here you'll learn about they have 6 pillars, right? They have, like, I'm not going to read all this, but they have all these ideals and these values, but I'll read the headers. I won't read the description of each, right? So there's 6 pillars: water, energy, Captain Planet, land, labor, economy, democracy. Let's do that again. Let's do it from the bottom. Democracy, economy, labor, land, energy, and water. So like just starting off from a different position in like a lot of these, and I don't expect a company to move like a social justice organization. But yeah, they have climate justice is racial justice here. So there's a race analysis in the work. And I'm not saying Heron Farms need to have, all I'm not requiring that of them. I choose to spend my money, not always, but in as many at as many places that have the similar value. Like you're gonna definitely see me consuming more Sightsee, right? Now that I know they really gang. You're gonna see me consume Headspace. You're gonna see me at Early Bird Diner. You're gonna see me and I'm not just purely tribal, but my point is like I don't require businesses to have this really, really deep race analysis. I think every business should have a race analysis. I think every business should be intersectional. They should do more around access to workspaces, disability advocacy. Like all the things. All of them should have it. Do I always require that? Is that always a determining factor? No, I'm not a purist. I'm not a purist in that sense. If I got to order some shit off Amazon, I'm going to have to do it, right? What else am I going to do, right? I'm not driving to fucking Charlotte to IKEA to get the one I really want, right? Or maybe I can't, my income it fluctuates. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't have the resources. The point of me saying all that is that while I don't necessarily always require a company to have that type of consciousness, it's really important to see companies have that. And it's really dope to see people grow into that awareness, like a Sightsee and like a Low Country street grocery, right? Like how they show up for Black people in a way that's not performative, that's not gimmicky, that's not icky, that's not mission trip pick. The way that they show up consistently for Black lives has been really good to see and encouraging. And so why not want that from all of these companies that are supposed to be sustainable? And you can't talk about sustainability, you can't talk about environmentalism without talking about other forms of oppression that intersect with that. And so we should start requiring more companies to have some sort of race and class analysis, or also to have a lens through which they view the work. And it can't just be I'm good looking, blonde, blue-eyed tech bro who's saying that I'm making sustainable food when you're not. And it's it's a garnish. You got on Forbes with a garnish. Then that's the most hate you're gonna get from me. That's the most hate you're gonna get from me. And granted, so it's the science. So it's the agriculture. What got you in Forbes? The garnish or the agriculture? And it ain't even sustainable. That ain't even criticism. That's the fact. I mean, yeah. So, Fresh Future Farm, right? It's behind in general. Yeah, just spot the contradictions, but you don't have to like bail. Unless you do. Let's normalize, Joy, you said, let's normalize having these conversations across the board. It's not canceled. Exactly. Like I might be at the obstinate daughter. Right? I might. I don't do, like, that's the other thing too. When people say there's certain places where I'm not gonna go, right? There's certain things I'm not going to get. I'm not gonna do a lot of things, right? It just, right. There's certain businesses I'm not going to Bessinger's ever. I'm not going to Maurice's, right? I'm not going to Los Olas on King Street. I'm not going to the Bennett. I mean, it's not like I got a list. I'm not Arya Stark here or shit like that. Or I kind of am. But they're like, for the most part, like, I can't live in that state of perpetual, like, boycott. It's not sustainable. But more importantly, too, it's not about canceling them. It's about, okay, and you need to have the experience to be able to be informed enough to talk about it. Oh, well, I really enjoyed that salad from, I'm just making up. I really enjoyed that salad from the Darling Oyster. I'm just making it up. Oh, I really loved it. It was great, right? And then you might read something like, whoa, they got their salad from like this wild source. This da, 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 da. Then I'm like, oh, okay. But you had the experience. You understood it. You sat in the seat. You understood what. So there's something about going out and experiencing, not experiencing inequity, but there's something about experiencing the thing before you just completely just like, okay, distance yourself from it. I think there's a level of engagement that's required. Speak of, because I don't want to be out here talking about shit I don't know. Yeah. No, the Bennett is not black owned. That's a big confusion. Everybody saying the Bennett is not. Thank you, Hill. Thank you. But you ain't the only one that said that. There's a lot of people got caught. Even my old boss, she had, first of all, I don't know why you booking it. Like the price at the Bennett is just obscene. But I remember my boss before I was hired with Cypress. She thought there's a manager there that they probably bandied. I think there's a manager over a certain part of the business, and it gives people the impression that they're black owned. They are certainly not. No, right. You just kind of took the words out of my mouth. But that's something that a lot of people, because I think one of those advertorials got out and made it seem like shit. We talking about greenwashing. There's some blackwashing going on. There's some blackwashing going on with some of these companies. Like, when Halls does, no shade, when Halls does the gospel brunch. But okay, Halls. Okay. All right. There's some blackwashing going on too. Yeah. And so, we definitely saw that after like the summer protests of 2020. Like we saw that during and after that. Yeah. He hires a third. Yeah, exactly. Just like all the third party management. Look at Hillary. Third party management companies for the hotels, right? And I learned how these hotels, even the boutique hotels, I've learned more about how they operate when I was in the space of creating content and speech writing for a prominent local artist. I was in that space, and so I saw how much of the hotel business is outsourced to some chick in Tampa, or it's outsourced to something based in Nevada. You'd be surprised how much local business ain't local. And that sounds like a live stream. Oh, you local? You locally owned? Let's take a look at your PR. Let's take a look at your HR. Let's take a look at let's look at your board members, right? Kid just look like the thing about things like and it's no shade, like go black people, get your money, do what you got to do to survive living in Charleston, right? But there's something about this industry that we, the larger black community, have agreed to participate in, the industry of performing our own oppression or performing antebellum nostalgia, that I find very offensive. So even the name Plantation Singers, it doesn't mean I don't like the Plantation Singers. It doesn't mean I'm being disrespectful. I just really do have a problem with going out there and performing as a group called the Plantation Singers. I think that without more to it than that. I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem to have a gospel brunch and then your staff goes out there and tries to shoot unarmed protesters in the street. I think that's a problem. That's just one of the issues with Halls. Y'all know y'all got the receipts on Halls. Some people do have the receipts on Halls, right? So Yeah, like it just, to me, just a bunch of white people watching me. It feels like that scene from Django where the Bucks are fighting. It just not my thing. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Tomorrow, January 6th. Hopefully, I didn't piss too many people off. But fuck it. Yeah, tomorrow, January 6th, and then Friday, I'm working on something, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, this is a long one. I missed y'all. It was fun. Fundraiser's over. I'm trying to make sure I tie up any loose ends. Fundraiser's over. See you tomorrow at 8 o'clock, January 6th. We're gonna talk about South Carolina. We're gonna try to make it as South Carolina as possible. And I really don't know how to talk about it. I'm gonna be real with you. I've struggled. Like, okay, do I want to talk about people, the ones that got away, the ones that look like they're evading prosecution? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the more interesting, because some of that shit is boring to me. Like, of course they got away with it. Kyle Rittenhouse got acquitted. But I want to talk about South Carolina's role in the insurrection, and also I want to like compare and contrast the state newspaper's coverage to the Post and Courier's coverage. You already know how that went. You remember my reaction to Nancy Mace getting that beautiful piece written by now one but two heavy hitters, JBH and Thomas Novelli. So yeah, you refuse to wait. Same facade. You said I refuse to call blinds and shutters as plantations. Yeah, I never heard of that. Did people call them that? They be putting plantation in everything. Like even like the new complex over here off Bees Ferry. Like, why it gotta be ain't even no plantation was over there probably. Like, I mean it's down the road from 61, but maybe it was a plantation. It was that close to 61. But no, like everything, Plantation Arms, Plantation Gardens, like just call it. Y'all got all these native plants and shit that's popular. I live at the Sweet Tea Homes, the Life Everlasting apartment complex. I don't know. I'm just thinking of things native to the area. All right, bye everybody. All right, I'm gonna follow Brianna out the door. Bye. See you tomorrow. I'll be right here at the table, right here in the kitchen till the table comes, till the desk comes. I'm excited. See you tomorrow. Bye.